Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for
coming
having me.
in. My pleasure.
Yeah.
What's going on?
An honor. Good to be here. The cold showers, what we're talking about before.
Yeah.
Those are the hardest
Oh, well, New York City cold showers in the winter are brutal.
because it doesn't get your whole body, so you actually have to constantly move around and freeze your ass off. You know what I mean?
It's hard to breathe, too. You're like,
Yeah. I used to do them for a while, though.
When I was a kid, when I used to do martial arts, there's this dude I used to work out with named Bob Caffarella, and he was like a real psycho. And Bob used to always take cold showers. He said it was good for the spirit.
It
And
is.
we would all be sitting around going, what the fuck is wrong with him? This guy's in the shower. It was January in Boston, and this guy's in the shower just fucking freezing.
But I feel like when you do it, it's like you feel afterwards this awakeness
Oh, yeah.
that you only get with drugs. Like that, like fucking like, oh, I'm like, you never realize how not present you are until you take a cold plunge. And then you're like, oh,
Right.
now I'm fucking in the world.
Right, because your body's trying to protect you from dying.
Yeah,
you know?
which is a real rush.
Well, it really is, though. It's norepinephrine. That's the big one. Dopamine kicks up, everything, and it lasts for hours. That's what I tell people, even though they don't want to do it. I'm like, I know it sucks. I don't think it's good. I don't get in and go, oh, this is amazing. I'm the best. I get in and I go, oh, fucking Jesus Christ, just keep it together. And I just try to stay calm. But I know when I get out, I'm going to feel great for hours.
Exactly.
Hours and hours.
Except for the time I did it on your instruction and fucked up. But it was like Jackass doing it at home and like getting a nut ripped off. I saw you do it. It looked great. Put the ice in the bath. And I was just cold for like 2 days straight. It was crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing it for 10 minutes the first time. You went a little crazy.
I went a little crazy.
Yeah, but kudos to you for doing it. It's fucking hard to do 10 minutes.
Well, I don't
crazy.
I used to do a lot of drugs. I don't really do drugs anymore. I mean, I'll do edibles and occasionally kratom. So I guess I do some drugs. And I'll do cocaine and heroin, but I'm pretty clean other than that.
I mean, I eat processed foods, and a lot of dessert, but fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, crystal meth, but that's it.
And I drink whiskey, no rocks.
But I don't do like the big drugs. So the cold plunge is really the closest to get to that high.
Yeah, if you could get that in a pill, it would be a very popular pill. People would be taking it all day long.
I know. But part of it is probably going through the pain, right?
Yeah. It's just better for your brain because there's a part in your brain. Andrew Huberman has talked about this. I forget what it's actually called, but there's a part of your brain that actually grows when you force yourself into do difficult things. Like, say if you're a person who likes to run and you force yourself, I'm going to run 5 miles every morning for 60 days. Like, if you can actually do that.
So an asshole.
Yeah. This is my friend Cam.
I'm trying to imagine myself running.
I have a buddy of mine that was doing a marathon every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a psycho. He does these ultra marathons.
Oh my God.
Where they run for 3 days. He does
It's like Forrest Gump, but Forrest Gump Forrest Gump was running.
Yeah,
Jeez.
he ran across America. But they do these things through the mountains. Like they do the Moab. I think it's the Moab 200 or 240. So it's 240 miles through mountains. It's not just like straight 240 miles. Like you're going over mountains and hills and shit.
Insane. I can run for about 7 minutes, and I'm probably lying about that. I'm definitely lying. I can run for about 4 minutes before I have to like stop.
I used to not run at all, and then I entered into a 5K, and I couldn't believe how hard it was to do.
It's insane.
I thought I was in reasonably good shape.
Yeah, it's crazy how much more in shape other people are.
Well, especially running shape.
Like the runners, the
Yeah.
people who can do the sprints, they can do something for like a really long time that I can do for maybe like 2 seconds.
I think they're drug addicts too, though.
Yeah.
Natural drugs.
The
natural
what do you
runner's
call
high.
it?
Yeah.
Not ephedrine. Euphoria. What is it called? Whatever that thing is.
Runner's euphoria.
Yeah.
I don't know what are the actual chemicals that get released during a runner's high. We'll find that out.
Yeah.
It's got to be dopamine. But there's a thing that you do when you do a lot of cardio where you do get really high.
Yes.
Not high in a bad way, but high in like a very chilled endorphins.
Endorphins. That's what I was looking for.
Popular culture identifies these chemicals behind the runner's high. So it says it's short lasting. I don't think it's that short lasting.
But you have to do it for a while. You have to run for like, I think 45 minutes.
Oh, here it goes. It says for up to a few hours. That makes sense. So the bliss, it can last anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours.
But it's side effects. Yeah, no, I mean, that's when you don't do drugs, like, that's the only way. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad plays tennis every day for like 5 hours.
That's a good
That's
thing.
his, yeah.
That's
he
a
loves
great
it.
thing.
He's obsessed. He watches. All he does is play tennis or watch tennis.
Really?
That's all he
Just
cares
a
about.
tennis freak.
He's a tennis
And he's
freak.
retired, so he just plays tennis
Retired,
all day?
Just plays tennis. He has one of those rackets where he's a real nerd about it, where you plug it into the computer and look at the data.
Whoa.
And then he's either playing tennis or doing that or just watching tennis on TV.
Wow.
That's all he cares about.
See, that's one if you get into, you're relying on your vehicle, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're getting into chess, you can pretty much always move those fucking things around.
Yeah.
You know, if you really get obsessed with
Chess
chess.
is my favorite sport.
But really?
I'm only out of breath after the first 45.
Do you play chess?
I used to play chess. I used to be in the chess club.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't play anymore as well, but I love chess, yeah.
I'm scared of chess.
Really?
Yeah, I'm scared I'd get addicted to it. Like, so the
Listen,
same
okay,
reason why
it's
I
not
won't
crack.
Right, but I don't have any time. It's
Okay.
that's why I won't play golf. Same
Golf.
thing. Like
I've
I'm
never
sure
played golf.
the golfers, like Jamie's a big golfer, they'll tell you how awesome it is. I'm like, I believe you.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
just
gonna
don't
try
have
it. I'm not gonna let it get its fucking fangs into me.
That's how I feel about video games. A lot
Oh,
of my
yeah.
comics friend play video games, and I'm like, I think that's the worst drug because
Yeah.
you're just wasting your life. There's no intervention. and
Also,
you know.
it doesn't have to be sunny out. You
Yeah,
can fucking,
exactly.
3 in the morning. Like I don't want to go to bed.
I was at my brother's place. I played a video game once, and I hadn't played it since like GoldenEye, so I hadn't seen any of the improvements. So I started playing. It's like
wow.
they're like movies now. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
And I got so hooked. There was a moment where I just like saw myself being addicted and just like snapped out of it. It was like 4 hours straight. Yeah.
I had to quit cold turkey. I used to play Quake online.
It like numbs you out. It's crazy.
It's just too easy to get a game because
Yeah.
you could always, at any moment in time, I could either be bored, I could be having a conversation that's boring,
Right.
or I could be doing something boring,
Right.
or I can just log in and have a death match one-on-one with some dude from fucking Denmark.
I know.
You know, like, it's crazy. Like, I remember typing, like, where do you live? And then people are like, I'm in Estonia. Like, whoa, that's crazy. Like,
While
you
you're
play
killing
pe-
them.
Well, you kill each other and you make little pauses and you ask. It's fun.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's fun. I'm afraid to like waste all that time. But yeah.
100%.
I'm like a workaholic a bit, which obviously you are.
Yeah, but I think that's okay. As long as you're doing something that you actually enjoy, I don't think there's anything wrong with being obsessed with something.
Yeah. No, I'm not a workaholic. When I worked at Red Lobster, I was not a workaholic. When I worked at Frisch's Big Boy, I was
Exactly.
not. I was not, let's get this right.
I think that's the deal with a lot of kids that are bored in school and they're calling them ADHD. I
Right.
think they think that the subjects that are being discussed are boring as fuck.
Of course.
They're
Why?
bouncing off the walls. They're 13 years old. They have so much fucking energy.
Why is it never the teacher's fault?
Exactly.
It's like, why do the teachers say something interesting? It's insane. It's like to be like, oh, no, they're just... It's like if an audience doesn't laugh and you're like, no. It's not that I'm not funny. It's that you have laughing deficit disorder. It's like it's throwing the ball onto something else. Be interesting.
There was an article in one of the science journals recently about one of the science magazines recently about ADHD, and then they were saying that it was actually an advantage to think that way for hunter-gatherers.
Oh, wow.
And this is left over from where they're constantly looking at other things and trying to pay attention, and they could focus on one thing like very intensely.
Oh, wow.
But they're scanning for a bunch of other
But
stuff.
you notice, you're like, ooh, what's that? And then it's like a raspberry.
Also, they're always in activity and motion. ADHD may have evolved to help foragers know when to cut their losses. Oh, interesting.
You're too focused,
This is interesting.
you get killed.
This is not the one that I read because this is from February. The one I read was just a couple of days ago. But symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, such as impulsivity, may have helped foragers and hunter-gatherer communities quickly move on to new areas when food sources were low.
That's amazing. So if you're too focused, you don't know when to quit.
Right.
And then you get fucking killed or you run out of resources.
That makes sense. Like it's like an instinct. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Right. And
Right?
now, well, I got really addicted to Adderall, like everyone.
Oh, wow. I'm scared of that, too. I've never tried it.
I used to, when I was after college, I started taking it like recreationally. And then I went to a psychiatrist and told her I had a problem. And she was like, well, we can prescribe it for you.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Then it'll no longer be a problem.
Oh, my God.
I was like, okay. I was thinking more like rehab, but sure.
What kind of fucking psychiatrist? She's probably on Adderall right
know.
now. It's
She's like,
amazing.
yeah.
Why don't you join me?
It's insane. And
Let's clean my house.
I did it for I was doing 90 milligrams a day. I was like,
Is that a lot, Jamie? It's a lot.
it
What
was
is
a
a
lot.
normal dose?
10?
Well, yeah, when I did 20, I was fucking up for 48 hours or something like that. I
Yeah.
never did a
It's
video.
crystal meth for nerds, but it's crystal meth. I mean, it's fucking, it's like,
Yeah.
it's intense. I was so I wrote poetry. That's how high I was. I thought I could write poetry.
This gentleman, Norman Ohler, was on my podcast 2 weeks ago, and he wrote all about
I
the
saw you
meth
post
and
about that.
the Third Reich. Dude, it's crazy.
And speed, yeah.
The whole thing was meth. They were all methed up. They were methed up when they fucking did the Blitzkrieg.
I do a bit about that now, about Hitler being on speed. I'm obsessed with Hitler. I'm
Oh,
like,
man.
I have like one of my bookshelves is just all Holocaust and Hitler books.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm dying to read that. I know Goring was on everything.
They were all on everything.
Goring was on like huge painkillers the whole time.
So was
like-
Hitler. Hitler
yeah.
was on. One of the things, the misconceptions that he was on meth. It appears a lot of what he was on was oxys. He was on oxycodone.
Wow.
Yeah, they had the original oxycodone.
So they're just like high. It's like when you get high and you run over someone. And they're
Yeah.
just like they were like, "What the fuck did I do when I was high?" Like, oh,
They
shit,
don't even care.
I killed all the Jews.
Did you ever see that video of the lady who's on pills and the cops are telling her to pull over and she doesn't know why and she has no wheel on her car? Her car is like spitting flames. Have you ever seen it?
No, I've not
And they
seen
pull
it.
over and she's like, "What's the problem?" And the cop's like, "Ma'am, are you on pills? Like, what the fuck is going on? How do you not know you lost a wheel on the highway?"
You know what?
You got to see it. It's bonkers.
No, that's insane. Yeah, it is. Like the Nazis were just all on drugs, which
Yep.
is just like a crazy. I mean, the whole Third Reich is surreal. That they're creating this.
Look at
you
this.
know?
So here's this lady. She's just driving like nothing's wrong, waving, "Hi."
Back of another car near Quail Hill Shopping Center. She says her car just gave out. Police say the woman was not impaired, and they didn't arrest her. The case,
What the fuck are you talking about? That lady's on pills. If she's not impaired, she shouldn't be ever driving. If you don't notice you lost a wheel,
Right. That's a big red flag.
is that the same one? That might not have even been the same one.
A longer video of what was happening. Look on the screen, longer video.
Right. Okay, this is it. Like, there's no way
my
you
God.
don't know that. There's no way you don't know.
And the trunk's open.
Also, the fucking back is completely
But
open.
I say that's not even the big problem at this point.
I can't imagine that she's not medicated. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
It'd be-
something's going on.
If she isn't medicated, she's a psycho.
Right,
you know?
something's wrong. If she's not medicated, like, she's got a blown fuse. But also, that's how cars they catch fire like
Right.
that. Like,
No, that's insane. Yeah, no, yeah.
what is this guy saying?
Her erratic behavior.
Are you having a hard day?
Because you can kill people. You can kill people.
Oh,
sorry.
Jesus.
Police told us the
Well, there we go. Now we're assholes. 'Cause
Well,
that
unless
could
she's
be
making it up.
She might be making it up.
That's
but
the old-
she might be telling the truth, which makes sense, where you're like, your whole world is like, what is life? I'm going to die
Right.
real soon, and they can't fix this. And you're just, the car's fucking up, and
Yeah.
you don't even care. That could be
Yeah.
it. The patch is open, you don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, your world is over.
Or you're like, oh shit, I fucked up. Let me say something to get out of it right now.
You're a cynic. I am an optimist. I look for the good in people.
I did a show once when I was like younger, and when you start, you have like I guess I still have dark jokes, but I'm having some joke about SIDS, the sudden infant death.
Oh.
And I was doing it. It was like some pizza shop in my hometown in an audience, and one person in the audience looked really upset. And I go, "What? You don't like the joke?" And they were like, "Our kid died of SIDS." And I immediately went into when you're starting out, I just went into the oldest, safest material. I'm like, "So I'm broke. Anyone else overdraft?" Just go right into it.
Panic.
And then at the end, I went up to him and her and I apologized, and he was like, "Oh, we were just joking." I was like, "That's the worst heckle ever."
Oh, that's so mean.
But I stopped doing that kind of joke afterwards because it's fine to do those kind of jokes, but you have to be prepared.
Right.
I was not prepared. I don't want to upset people like that, so I just
Especially
stopped.
someone
doing
who lost their kid.
Right, so I was like, I can't do those jokes.
I'm not against someone doing that's like Anthony
No,
Jeselnik.
of
He has
course.
a shit ton of jokes like that.
Of
But
course, yeah.
they're great. People enjoy it. It's not bad. It's not bad comedy. It's like, but at least with a guy like Jeselnik, you should know what you're getting into, and don't
Right.
try to pretend there's something wrong with what he's saying, but all these other people don't have a problem with it. Like,
Right,
it's
exactly.
a taste thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like.
But when you start out, no one knows no one knew who I was
Of
at
course.
the pizza shop in Bloomington, Indiana.
That's why it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
But the only way they're gonna find out that's the kind of stuff you do is if you take those risks and do that kind of stuff and get in trouble.
You gotta do it. You
Yeah.
gotta get in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God I started before people film stuff. I said the worst.
How many years are you in now?
17.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
I've said horrible shit, but it's not on film. So.
But you got in. I think the filming thing is fucking strange, right? Because some people want to get filmed because you can get some clips like
Right.
interacting with the audience.
Right.
But it's like you have to have an opportunity to work out stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Because there's times when you're on stage and you're saying things and you have a new bit and you don't know where you're taking it while you're taking it
Of
there.
course, yeah. And you have to that's why when they looped the Louis thing,
Yeah.
it was any comic who criticized them should lose their comedian badge right away.
They have
It's
to me, yeah.
If you release something when they weren't planning for it, it doesn't matter what they said in it. You're at fault for releasing something. You know?
Well, it's obviously as an audience member that released it, but the comics that criticized it, I'm like, hey man, fuck you. Like you pretend. First of all, the guy didn't do comedy for 10 months.
Yeah.
And then second, the stuff that he was saying, if you know him and you know his act, and I guarantee you fucking do, because a lot of those people are just haters.
yeah.
If you know him, you know, given enough time, he would make that horrible premise
Yes.
really fucking funny.
And frankly, it was pretty funny then.
Pretty funny then.
like-
I mean, it was horrible. He's saying like push the fat kid in front of you,
But that's funny.
but you don't think there would be layers upon layers that would make
Right.
that joke brilliant in a year if you just let him do it?
And you learn the cushions. Like he didn't have the cushion. You learn people like Louis, the great comics, are great at learning how to make a hard joke work.
Yes.
And he hadn't maybe developed the cushions yet on stage, but they would
he
have
hadn't
come.
done any comedy at all in 10 months.
Yeah,
so
no.
this is like literally the first set he did.
I think anyone who criticized him about that was the kind of comedian who doesn't take risks. Because if you
Yeah.
take any risks, you wouldn't want stuff to be released.
Right,
you know?
exactly. And if you understand how jokes are developed, like
Yeah, exactly.
there's too many people that like got into it from something else and they did stand up in the beginning and then they got into it again. They consider themselves stand-ups and then they'll come out and criticize something like this and you go, just shut the fuck up, man. You're not even doing it right.
Yeah, you're not this. Yeah.
You're not even doing it right. Like you saying that that this is bad. Like, come on, man. This is how everybody creates material.
You have to, yeah. Once he puts it on a special, then you
Yeah.
can judge it. Once he decides.
Exactly.
But until then, yeah, work on it. You know, imagine if my Sid joke was filmed. I'd
Exactly.
probably get some notoriety back then.
Well, now on Twitter, you've become a hero.
Yeah, but no one knows about it except for me bringing it up right now. Except for all your listeners.
It's like you've got to have a place where you can fuck around, and that's the problem with like filming all the time. Because there's things that like you'll start a bit off when you first start writing it and start making it. It's like it's so different than when it finishes.
Yes.
You got to be able to find that.
and not have people see it. Yeah, not have people see it because it's comedy is like you want people to see the finished product, but it's embarrassing until then. You're sweaty, you're working shit out, you're stumbling,
Yeah.
you're bombing. You don't want people to see that part.
Well, it's fun to watch as an audience member, though. One of my favorite things is watching a bit develop.
Yeah, for
watching
sure.
someone like come up with an initial premise, and maybe they come in the green room. We're all brainstorming, trying to figure out what part is where does it get clunky.
It's interesting to me. It's all a mystery, like how it develops. Like I listen to tapes, but when you just keep doing it, it just naturally edits itself. It's an interesting mystery where it naturally forms.
Right, right. As long as you're not rigid.
Yes, and listen to it all. Yeah.
Yeah, because some people are rigid, and this is a problem that like open micers have in beginning comics. Is they started doing a bit a very certain way, so they're kind of comfortable saying it that way, and they're uncomfortable on stage already.
Right.
So they keep saying it the same way.
That's the death of comedy.
Yeah.
That's one of the things Louis taught me, or not taught me, but something I understood, but he really articulated is like the enemy of comedy is roteness. Figuring out that once you think you can say it a certain way where it gets a laugh, it's dead. Like if you're relying on to just say it that way to get a laugh.
Right.
And he made it clear, like you really, and he shows it. You really got to think about the emotion behind it, which you forget immediately, or like after a while. But like. I fall into this trap all the time where I figure out a way to say a joke and it gets a laugh. Mm-hmm. And I think the minute you're 100% sure it's going to work, that's when it starts dying.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah, like it has to. I think what you're saying is that it has to be real in your mind at that moment. You can't be just reading a script.
You have to think. Yeah. To me, it's like instead of thinking of like, oh, I'm saying something now that will get a laugh, just try to think of the anger or the sadness or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right. What is upsetting you or making you laugh hysterically about the subject?
That's why Bill Burr is so great, because it's like he doesn't look like he's trying to get people to laugh.
Right.
He just looks really angry.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
he
funny.
is.
Yeah,
He is. You
It's
know,
like-
if you talk to Bill in the green room, that's the same guy. Yeah, if I fucking told him.
And that's what's and that's what's hilarious. Just kind of like the fact he's so great at keeping that anger. I don't know if it's an act. I mean, keeping that anger alive through all these shows.
It's not an act.
It's not an act. He's just psychotic.
You can call him right now. Bring up something that annoys. Listen here, you fuck. You know what my favorite is? When he's on a podcast with someone and they take themselves seriously. Like he was on with Bill Maher and he was
I
just
saw that.
chewing Bill Maher up. And then he was on Charlemagne the God and he was chewing him up. It's just, I love it. I love it. He's the best at that.
He's the king. He's amazing.
He's the best at like breaking down what, yeah, look at you. You know, like, just breaking you down. And you're like, oh no, he knows me.
Just roasting you with that voice.
He knows me. He
It's like-
knows me.
No, he's amazing, and he, I just think his ability to just always be himself on stage, which I think that's the kind of comedy I love the most.
He has a unique talent for it. A unique talent for anything he's talking about. It's just being himself.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see how so many people do it differently, but we all have like something in common. And I think one thing that everybody has in common is like what the best ones are really thinking about what they're talking about.
Right.
Really.
And having to care about it. I feel like so many times I'll do a bit and it's not working, and then I realize I don't give a shit.
That's right.
About the thing I'm saying. I need to. If it's important to me, it'll be important to the audience.
Yeah, I have to bail on bits when I'm bored with them.
I know, because you're like, I don't really care about this.
Yeah, this is I
I'm not
know
actually
there's something.
angry.
Like people are like, yeah, there's something there. I'm like, I know, but right now I don't give a fuck about it, so I have to leave it alone for a little bit.
If you don't give a fuck about it, they can tell.
Yeah, there's some bits that killed when I first started doing them, and then they got a little flat, and I was like, what is going on here? Oh, I don't care anymore.
You don't care. You don't care, and you know they work. There's no mystery. Mm-hmm.
I didn't find out whatever it is in the bit that makes it a great bit.
Right.
You know, there's sometimes you just can't find a thing that elevates it from an 8. It stays at an 8.
Exactly.
It never hits a 10. Sometimes you gotta trim. Sometimes you keep them in if they make a point, if they're like bizarrely ironic, or there's something about it where you're like, it's worth it, even though it's not the funniest joke.
Yeah,
because if little hills and valleys.
With the hour, it works well. In the,
Yeah, with an hour. But sometimes you just got to set it aside, and then sometimes I'll come back to it. You know, I have like a whole folder that I call Orphan Babies, and it's all bits that never made it on anything.
That's great to keep a record.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to do.
You have to.
Because that's the hardest part, forgetting everything.
I forget them sometimes. A friend brings them up. Like, what about the hyena thing? I'm like, I fucking forgot
I'm like that.
How does it go?
People bring that up like, oh yeah, why did I stop doing that joke and then I'll start doing it again?
I know. Yeah, it's weird.
It's tough. Like I did released an hour like a couple months ago, and so I'm trying to work out a new hour. It's tough when you have that because there's a lot of jokes you just probably don't care about that much, but you need it in there just for the,
Right.
It's like scaffolding,
Exactly. Right, to keep the bits together so they're coherent sometimes.
But in my head, I'm like,
I think everybody should have a folder that they just put on. Everybody should write. I mean, I know everybody likes to write on stage, and I get it, and there's some of the greats that write on stage. But if you're listening, if you're not those people, everybody else, you should write.
Yeah, because you can go back and not forget them. I have my bookshelf looks like Seven, where he has all the notebooks.
Yeah. That's great.
It's all just, crazy manifestos and jokes. Yeah.
I think it's like one of the things that I found when I had to do this live special was that I had to really go over my shit.
Yeah.
Like with a fine-tooth comb. So I wound up writing out all my bits that I've done hundreds of times. Write them out exactly, word for word. Just drill it into my head. And then I was preparing for this. I was like, I should probably be doing this all the time.
I know, right?
I should probably be doing not just when I'm getting ready for a special, but I should probably be doing comedy this way.
I know. It's like whenever I've done late night, I start really analyzing the jokes and like cutting them and be like, oh, if I did this all the time, I'd be pretty good. I'm like, that word does not work there, but it's just because I'm doing it on late night. So I'm like, but then normally I'm like, whatever.
I know. It's like, it's funny. We have our own schedule. We get to govern ourselves, which is not always the best thing.
Because
if we were like a prodigy and you were a violin coach, I'd make you practice all day, bitch.
I know, but you can only technically practice on stage. That's the weird thing. It's like
you can, but you can prepare off stage.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really important to like write everything down and go back to it, and just so you don't lose anything.
You can forget things.
Yeah, especially as you get older.
I have a bunch of friends that just keep things in their head, and like Duncan, I'm pretty sure he released this bit, so I could say he might not have but he's got a great bit about
I released
Adderall.
my SIDS bit. You can do it.
No, but I don't know. I think it's he recorded a special, but I don't know if it's on it, so I don't want to say it. But
Okay.
he's got this great Adderall bit. He totally forgot about it, and I said, "Do you
he
remember
wasn't-
that?" He
'cause
goes,
he
"How
wasn't
does it
on
go?" I go, "You say it like it's oh my god, that joke's amazing." I go, "It's your joke. You
I
forgot
know.
it."
You got it. Yeah, it's important to be organized. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
just we govern ourselves, and we're all slackers.
It's a weird job because it's just you. And it's just how even like advice doesn't typically work because every comedian, when they give advice, they're really just giving it that works for them.
Right.
And you don't know if it works for your voice or how
Right.
it's also, you're just alone.
Right.
And you have to create your own system. You know? And
Advice, as long as it's not rigid, is really good because you really can't tell people how to do things.
no. And if anything, I mean, there's some good advice. I mean, when I was started out, I got a couple,
Yeah.
look around the audience, keep the mic out of the
Oh yeah,
mic stand.
standard stuff.
But like once you get into real advice, I don't know. I think it just gets in your head for the most part,
Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's terrible. You know,
Yeah.
I got a lot of terrible advice when I first started out.
What's a good advice?
Good advice is write a lot.
Sure,
Listen to your recordings. That was one thing. This guy Mike Donovan, I got real lucky that I started out in Boston in the '80s, and it was
Right,
like there was
the
all these
best.
local headliners that were awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, world class, but they were local and they stayed local. And one of them was this guy Mike Donovan, and Mike Donovan, he always had this is back in the day when you had cassette recorders that were big, like a fucking box of cigars, and he would sit it on the thing and press record when he went on stage. He goes,
Oh my God.
you never know. He goes, you might have a new tagline in that moment,
That's crazy.
and then you'll forget about it if you don't listen. And that was some of the best advice I'd ever heard.
He was like the first comic recording his sets.
Yeah, he was just a smart dude, and he just figured out that you got to do that.
Yeah, I think like that advice is great. Like definitely writing a lot and definitely listen to your sets is so important because there's so many comics who go up all the time, but they're delusional and they don't get better because they're not like realizing that it's not working.
Yeah,
know?
you got to analyze yourself like a hater.
Exactly. But
It's-
but stuff about how to say shit and all that, I just feel, or like your style, some of that, I feel like you're kind of alone a little.
100%.
You know?
Because, imagine someone like Bill Burr trying to give advice to Mitch Hedberg. on
Yeah,
how do you,
just fucking yell the bit.
Yeah, get mad, get mad,
Get mad
get
ab-
mad. Think about it. What the fuck were
Get
you
mad
thinking? when you
about
said-
the rice.
Yeah.
Get mad that there's so many rice.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point in time, that's one of the cool. I've been thinking about doing this for quite a while now. We've talked about it, and I think we're going to do it. And what I want to do is have, outside of podcasts, to just have an interview with headliners when they come into town, and tell me about what happened. Tell me about your journey. What was your first open mic?
Wow.
What was it like? How'd you feel? How'd you get started? Did someone influence you? Did someone ask you to do it?
I love
What
it.
were your first road gigs? Just not a podcast where like it'd be me talking about my stories, but just like I just want to know 100% an interview,
Right.
a conversation, but
No,
an
that'd be
interview,
great.
and just so that it's archived for comics. Because you remember like when you were starting, I mean, 17 years ago, right? You could get a couple of books. There was a few books. Richard Belzer
Yeah.
had a book on stand-up, but it was kind of like tongue-in-cheek.
Right. The comedy Bible.
Yeah,
By that woman.
Yeah. There was nothing written by anybody who was really good.
No.
So that was part of the problem. Belzer was good, but
Yeah.
but nothing written by like a George Carlin or a Richard Pryor or
Right.
a Lenny Bruce.
It's never advice from the great. It's always some weird person, some like,
kind of grifty.
yeah, it's grifty. And someone who's like,
Yeah.
"What? You're not a comedian."
Well, we thought about doing that at the store back in the day. We were talking about doing comedy classes where, a comic, like a headliner, would come in. And I know Ari did this quite a few times. Ari did it in Phoenix when I was there. He'd set up like a seminar for free for all the local comics. Told them, this is how you get a manager. This is how you get an agent.
Right.
This is how you get stage time. This is what you should do to organize your set. And fucking amazing resource for free. He did it for like 2.5 hours.
Oh,
And so
that's
Ari was
awesome.
doing that for a while. But there's nothing like that for comics coming up. Everybody has to learn from the people at the clubs.
Yeah. No, that's a good would love to hear that stuff.
Because if you could start out now, and you can go on YouTube. First of all, you have access to everything. Red Fox, Rodney Dangerfield, fucking everything that's ever been is online. Lenny Bruce. You watch Lenny Bruce recordings right now.
Yeah.
It was impossible to find that shit when we started. Impossible.
And it's still impossible to understand, but
Yeah, a lot of it, right?
I listened to him. I'm like, I don't. It was a different time where saying Yiddish was really like hip.
Right.
He was like,
Lenny?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, the Michigan guys on the street.
Well, the thing about Lenny was that no one had ever talked like that publicly.
Right.
So this was a totally unique thing that you have to take in the context of 1963.
Some of the most groundbreaking stuff feels the most dated later because it is so groundbreaking that the model changed.
The whole world changed the way they think about things, and then talking about things openly the way he did became normal.
Right.
So he's doing normal things to us.
But it seems, it's like the musical Oklahoma seems like such a standard thing.
Right.
But at the time, it was super experimental. It was the first one where they had like not a chorus on stage right away, or someone singing, and a narrative, like musicals before that were reviews. And you're like, I switched it to musicals. You're like, go back to comedy.
No, musicals are cool.
I love musicals, but it was groundbreaking at the time.
Right.
A narrative story. Most shit before that was like reviews, and they broke a lot of rules. But now it's just Oklahoma, you know. But it was like an experimental thing at the time,
like The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The Wizard of Oz was monumental when it came out. Like, it was something that everybody saw. It was one movie that you would guarantee everybody you talked to had seen The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. No, it is the most watched movie. I read a book about the making recently. It was interesting. Yeah. Did you know that? So, Judy Garland was like groped by a lot of the little people on the movie. It's like a whole thing. She got groped, and I read it. Apparently, they were mad. All the little people were like very drunk and wild, you know, and they were mad because apparently they were getting paid less than Toto, the dog.
Whoa.
So the hierarchy on Wizard of Oz was like the dog, little people, and then women at the bottom, you know? And they were like groping her, and she couldn't say anything about it.
Wow.
It's an insane. I wish they could make a movie.
That's also like, what year was that?
1939?
Bro, people were savages back then.
No, there was.
Savages.
Oh, he slapped, the director, Victor Fleming, slapped Judy Garland in the face during a scene. Just slapped her because she couldn't keep a straight face.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, it was. And that movie. I wish I could make a movie about the making of Wizard of Oz, and that would show like the beauty of the movie, but also how horrible behind the scenes were.
Right.
Because you had the witch caught on fire and literally like lost feeling in her hand at one point, and then they forced her to go back to Margaret. What her name is? They forced her to go back to work the next day, even though she was in the hospital. The original guy playing the Tin Man got really sick because of the paint they were using. He ended up in the hospital, and they just replaced him. Immediately.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he got like really sick. Yeah, no, it was a.
Oh, that makes sense. Like, what the fuck is that stuff they put on his skin?
There's no regulation back then. They're just like, let's try
also,
this.
they had just got done with, like, think about it. That was like thalidomide babies back then, right?
Yeah.
Or that was actually later. Thalidomide babies, wasn't that like in the 60s? But they had the girls that developed cancer because they were using the loom for the watches.
Right.
So that what was that called?
The Radium Girls? that
Radium
book?
Girls, yeah. There was horrific holes in their face and shit. Their tongues would rot out of their mouths.
There was zero.
Nobody told them anything because they would lick the tip of their brush because they were doing these very delicate loom dials on watches.
No, that no one gave a shit. And in the Hollywood, there was no like the stars didn't have like some stars were beginning to have power, but Judy Garland, she was just treated like she was owned by them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like to slap.
Jesus
Imagine the director
Christ.
like trying to slap like Emma Stone now. Like, you can't.
Crazy. It's just crazy to think that wasn't that long ago.
I know, and it's the Holocaust also
But isn't
happened
it kind
not
of?
too soon after.
But isn't it kind of like watching tape and listening to tape as a comic? Because you don't know how bad you suck until you
Right.
see it. And people didn't know how bad like that
Until
kind
you
of
saw it.
behavior was
Yeah.
until you see it. Like, go to what the old James Cagney movies. He'd smack his girlfriend right in the face, and he was the hero. And then they'd kiss each other.
It's all every
Nuts.
I love watching old stuff to see like the problematic parts. I just find them like really funny.
You ever see the one where it's like an old Western and the guy is spanking his wife and the kid comes along and says, "Do you like? I know why you're spanking mommy. It's because you love her." And he's like, "That's right, son." It's so nuts. Like the woman is over the guy's knees, and he's spanking her.
It's out of love, you know. That's insane.
But
Yeah.
this is like something that someone thought you could pass off in a movie. I mean, that's how confused we were about narratives and about reality. And
Well, every '80s movie, like people are like, you got to watch.
here
this.
it is. Look at this.
Oh my God.
It's John Wayne.
Digging those birds into me for 2 years. Now you're gonna get your
Oh my God.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Look at he's beating her.
That's awful.
This is not the one where the guy, the wife. I mean, he's beating her with a piece of metal. And what a great show.
Oh my God.
What a great movie.
I love
for
when
the
they
whole
give him
family.
the weapon to use,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
Like-
normal. Yeah, normal. Beat her with a weapon. Don't use your hand. What if your hand gets hurt?
Well, every '80s movie, they're like, "You got to watch this '80s movie. It's a classic." Then you turn it on, it's like 12 nerds gang raping a woman. It's like every '80s comedy is like a prank.
Is this the one? What is this one?
Well, maybe not. I thought this was the one. He's chasing her around the house.
And he spanks her too?
Yeah.
So he's carrying her away. Look, he's spanking her
A lot
in
of
front of
spanking
everybody. Look at them
live
watching.
back then.
This is so crazy.
It's insane. Not just spanking, but spanking in public,
Not just like he's holding her up in the air while he's
and
spanking
they're
her.
laughing.
Like they think it's wonderful. Look, he's gonna
Like,
fuck
"Good
her
for
later.
you." He
And
drops
he just
her.
drops her.
They're just laughing.
I've never been so proud of you in all my life.
What the fuck? I've never been so proud.
Come around and see me in the morning, son. You start to work at 10.
Oh, they both have black eyes. And he's got his arm around her. Oh, sweetie, I got the job. What the fuck is that movie about?
We just look evil when we look back in the past. Everyone's just like, slap, spank her, spank her.
And by the way, they thought they were so sophisticated because they were comparing themselves to fucking cave people.
Of course, yeah. Well, we change, we move at our own pace.
Right. And so we had to like look at the cave paint and he's go, that is kind of fucked up that you stabbed that guy with a spear. I remember that. And then it goes from that to movies and plays, right?
Yeah, well, we're getting better. It's
getting
just
better.
slow. My cousin had a bat mitzvah. It is Reformed. You know, that's where you do the whole service in English, and you have to read part of the Bible. Which in conservative you do in Hebrew, but in Reform you do in English.
What is it? Why Reform?
They're just more liberal, more
okay.
accessible. It's usually like a lesbian rabbi, and she's just like eating out her girlfriend on stage and stuff. and there's like the cantors tuning a guitar, and she had to read a part of the Bible, but Reform do it in English. So the 13-year-old girl had to go on stage in front of everyone and read the selected part. And like not every part of the Bible holds up. So it was like 300 people, her parents behind her, and she's just on stage. She has to open to the part, and she's just like, "When a slave offends you, you cut off his right arm." And then her parents are behind her. They're like, "That's my girl." And then she's like, "When you offend them again, you execute them. These are the laws of how to punish your slaves." And we're all just like in the back.
Is that a real quote?
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, something close to that.
Jesus Christ.
And that's why you do it in Hebrew, so you don't have to know this
So you
shit.
can pretend it's
Like,
okay.
that's why we do it in Hebrew. You don't know what they're talking about.
Well, that was the whole thing about them doing it in Latin, right? Like nobody could speak Latin.
So they could tell
They
them
would take
whatever.
the priest's word for
It
it.
says, "Give me $100 if you want to be in the afterlife."
I think there was a lot of that going on. That's why everybody wanted to kill Martin Luther.
Right. Yeah, the Latin, that was a big con.
Huge con.
Yeah. Just,
Nobody speaks it.
Yeah, only we know what it's saying. The priest is like, "Kid, it's saying to suck my dick right now."
And it's nuts. Isn't it nuts that is kind of a dead language? Like you can still learn Latin, but nobody speaks Latin.
No, unless you're getting possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
Don't forget that demographic.
Oh yeah, those folks. Well, they usually talk in tongues. They're not even doing Latin. They're going.
You know what I mean?
Do
They throw it a little. They don't throw in Latin.
they occasionally?
I feel like The Exorcist. I feel like she throws in a little Latin.
She said, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell."
Which, by the way, that
Super
movie.
English.
I don't understand why anyone's scared of that movie. That movie's hilarious.
That's because you're younger than me.
I know, yes.
When I was a boy, that movie was fucking terrifying. I saw that movie. I was real young. Like I probably shouldn't have been able to see it. Like what year did that movie come out?
75? 70.
73. Okay.
Tried to be Rain Man. I
So
failed.
6.
Yeah, well, you should have been seeing the movie.
I saw
anyway.
that movie when I was 6. Yeah, my parents let me see all the scary movies.
But can I ask you this? Did you at the time? I was talking to them about it backstage. Did you believe in the devil? Kinda.
Oh yeah, sure.
because I'm a Jew. I'm like a heathen Jew, right? We don't believe in the devil. So for me, it just felt like funny.
It's a good fucking movie, man.
But it's just like she's like you saying like your mom sucks cocks in hell. That's like to a priest. That's definitively funny.
Well, how about when she fucks herself with the cross?
I don't know. It's just like to
But
me.
she said some wild shit while she was doing it too, like "fuck my
Fuck
cunt," something like that.
But that's like, I guess back then, the idea of a kid cursing was like,
Oh, it was crazy. Well, this
but
girl.
now it's South Park.
You
Now
want to
it's
talk about
not-
someone that got fucked up from doing a movie? She
Oh,
got
yeah?
really fucked up from doing these. Imagine, okay, you're a young girl and you are literally playing the devil.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you. You're famous now, and
Yeah.
you're famous for being the fucking devil.
That's insane,
So
yeah.
everywhere you go, people are scared of you.
You just see
probably-
people see you on the street.
You fucked yourself with a crucifix in a movie.
You're like 13 people are walking by. Suck cocks in hell.
Jesus Christ. She probably never heard the end of it. And that was another movie that everybody saw.
Yeah, that was I love horror movies, but I find that one it's like I just don't find it. I don't know. I feel like a girl. I mean, at the time I get it was scary. Definitely if you're 6. But I just find it silly. It's just like you're telling the priest to go fuck himself. It's just funny.
I get it, but I think it's because we are living in 2024.
We're
and
heathens now.
And all those movies have gone on, and we've learned from
Right.
those movies.
Which is interesting to think that like back then a kid cursing, we were so much more puritanical. That was like
Right.
disturbing.
Disturbing.
And now it's South Park.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
Yeah.
Now they're sticking things up their butts
Yeah.
in cartoons. Yeah, it's totally normal now. And that's, again, it's like going back to listen to Lenny Bruce stuff and then trying to listen to... He had one joke that comics inadvertently stole because they didn't realize that they were stealing it, but because it was so brilliant. But it was when homosexuality was illegal back then.
Right.
And he goes, being gay is illegal, dig? What do they do when they catch you? They put you in jail with a bunch of guys who want to have sex with you. This is a great joke.
He has great jokes.
It's just... If you went back in time to the 1950s and talked to people, they would think you were a fucking alien. Like, who is this guy? How is he talking so freely about things?
Right. And he did have great jokes. You just gotta get past the you dig and the Meshuggahs. But like he had great jokes. I that book of his is awesome. The one of his transcripts. You look at that.
No.
It's like just the writings
the trials?
No, just of the stand-up.
Oh, the stand-up.
It's awesome. You see it all in like. He had one bit that was like, I love Bill Hicks. He's one of my favorites, but it was similar to Bill Hicks' joke. Not to say Bill Hicks stole from it, but they're just great minds think alike about like, if Jesus came back, would he want to see a cross? Something similar to that.
Yeah.
And
Right, a bunch of guys had that,
yeah,
though.
but
You
he
know?
might have been the first.
Yeah, he probably was the first. I mean, Kinnison had something kind of similar to that, too.
I listened to Bill Hicks recently. He got me into comedy. I always loved him. I listened to him on a road trip recently, and he holds up so well. And I think like the people call him preachy. I think they're so wrong. I actually think all his jokes are just good jokes that aren't really preachy for the most part.
See, I don't think it was preachy. Like I don't think Anthony Jeselnik is really offensive.
No, because
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a style of comedy. His style of comedy was condescending. I'm smarter than you, and here's some amazing points about life. And so I liked it. I like
Hicks,
that.
you mean?
Yeah, Hicks. Like when Hicks would talk about things, he would talk about things like, everybody's stupid. Like, this is why.
Right.
And I'm telling you how it should be. And that's
Right.
what people didn't like about it. But that was also a great way to get some of those points across. Like, there were some points that's really kind of the only way, if you want to deliver it the way he does it, it's really kind of the only way you can do it.
Well, it's also funny to see a crazy person on stage, just someone who's like, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, he is a funny character, and I do think he has great misdirects, like just great jokes that go beyond like what ideology he's like, professing. You
mean Hicks?
Hicks, yeah.
Well, he had brilliant shit about the war. Like they have sophisticated weapons. How do you know? We checked the receipts. Which is just.
Well, the whole like the book depository is very realistic.
Yeah.
Oswald isn't in it.
Yeah.
He just had great like I just thought he had just kind of like Woody Allen. I know he loved Woody Allen, like great like misdirects. Mm-hmm. And when you listen to it now, a lot of it is kind of what a lot of good comedy is, where you take a hot button issue, but then you then you just have a joke that's just kind of about something else.
Right.
And that's really a lot of what his stuff is. It just feels like kind of like modern comedy. You know?
Yeah. Well, he definitely changed a lot of people's idea of comedy because he made it kind of interesting for the first time. He had interesting subjects.
Him and Doug Stanhope definitely were my big influences. I loved you too. I loved your I remember back when I listened to comedy albums. That was a different era, I guess, you know?
Oh, wow, yeah.
But I remember I loved your bit about the tiger in the zoo, the monster in a box.
Yeah.
I still think about that every time I'm in a zoo because they always make the cage look like they could possibly jump out.
Yeah.
You know, do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I do. I kind of remember it. But I remember the story. These kids threw pine cones at a tiger, and the tigers can jump 14 feet in a 12-foot cage.
Yeah, they gave it like a little...
They didn't even put a
this
roof on it.
cage is secure unless a tiger gets really mad. But when's that going to happen?
I would have given everything to see the look on their face when that thing touched the top of the bars.
Yeah, they were like...
When the paws hit the bars and the body starts going over, the flood of chemicals that must go into your mind.
That's a high.
Off the charts.
That's a high.
Probably like nothing else you'll ever experience in life.
That's like a cold plunge times 10,000.
Well, it's like undeniable. You're dying right now. Like it's coming for you. It's a 600-pound super predator.
Well, one kid survived, right? I think
one kid survived. I think the kid who threw the pine cones unfortunately survived. I think his buddy got taken out.
Oh, that's how fierce tigers are. Like, I'm not going to fuck you up. I'm going to fuck your friend up.
I think his buddy went to help him.
Oh, my God.
I don't know the whole story. I mean, who knows? It was probably just chaos.
But I think about that bit every time at a zoo. They always make it look like the tiger can jump out. I'm like, why don't you just not make it look like that?
Put a roof on the box.
Monster on the box.
You keep the
monster
monster
on the
yeah. Why don't you have a roof on the box? If you have a monster in the city in a box, put a fucking roof on the box.
We don't need to make it look like it can jump out. We don't need...
Also, how expensive is it to put a roof on?
No,
is it that expensive?
I think they want to make it feel like it's free.
Fuck that. It's not free.
No, yeah.
They shouldn't be there. I don't agree with zoos at all.
You don't like zoos?
No, I don't. I used to... I'm a hypocrite because I took my kids to them because I want my kids to be able to see these animals because it's kind of cool to see a 2-year-old staring at a hippo. Whoa.
Right, of course, yeah.
But the reality is they're prisons. They're prisons for animals that didn't do anything wrong.
But it's a little different in the sense that their life outside of prison is pretty messed up. They're just getting killed.
But it's natural.
It is natural.
It's not. They're not all getting killed. You know, they're doing some killing too, which is also unnatural. That you just feed these things that live to kill.
I guess the zoo is better for the prey.
It's definitely better. Well, I used to have a joke about that too. About the only animal that I don't feel bad about in the zoo is giraffes.
They're having a great time.
They don't seem to have any problem with it at all. Like another day with no lions.
Well, it's like, if that's jail, like freedom of them just getting chased by, like if you were in prison and outside of prison, you could just get eaten at any time.
Yeah.
Prison wouldn't look so bad.
Well, as long as they have a big enough enclosure and they can walk around, they don't seem to have any problem with it.
Yeah, it sucks for the predators because they can't like hunt.
Exactly.
And then they always put the tiger like next to the giraffe or the lion just to fuck with them,
which is so crazy.
It's a little cruel.
You imagine being a tiger and you're like, I can't believe
every
it.
day.
Every day.
And then you forget because you have bad memory.
Yeah.
Oh, he's right there. Fuck! What the fuck?
Cocksuckers.
Yeah, they're kind of cruel with that. Put them in different places.
Well, you shouldn't put them there at all.
Yeah,
it's crazy. The whole thing's crazy.
Yeah,
and I get it does protect some endangered species, but boy, I think if we really care about animals, we should put a lot more money into it, and there should be a lot larger spaces, and it shouldn't be anything remotely resembling a zoo.
And it's always weird who gets the big space. At the Louisville Zoo, like there's a wolf who just got like fucking like 12 acres, and then a snow leopard's like in like a little diorama with a cage on it.
It's sick.
Yeah.
The way they do it in Africa is the way to do it. If you really want to go see an animal, you should go on a fucking safari and drive through these areas where they're killing gazelles and they're doing normal lion shit. This is a normal lion in a lion environment, and you drive through it, and it's probably dangerous as shit. And keep your fucking windows rolled. You know that lady from the Game of Thrones, one of the video editors, one of the editors from the Game of Thrones got killed by a lion in one of those parks.
In the safari?
She rolled her window down and she was leaning out to take a photo or something. The cat reached in and grabbed her.
Oh my God. I saw one of those videos where the people in the car and like one of them, I think it's a tiger, not a tiger, it's Africa, but it was a lion coming up to the car and they're looking at it and then the lion just opened the door. It just put his paw on the door and opened it. They're like, ah!
Lock the fucking door, man. Imagine a little skinny ass piece of window that you could put your head through easy.
Yeah.
And there's a lion right
insane.
outside of it. He could put his head through it easily.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
But if he just fucking smashes his head, it'll go right through that thing. He's a
Yeah.
lion.
If he's just like crazy that day.
If he just decides to pop it with his paw, it's just going to burst.
Well, that's what's crazy about the tiger who killed the kid. It's like, they were like, he can't get out unless he's really wants to. It's like, don't protect it from him really wanting to as well. You
Well,
know?
they didn't have the proper height fence.
Yeah.
They not only did they not have a roof on it, the fence was 2 feet shy of what a tiger can jump over.
It was
That's
only even a
insane.
3-foot wall.
What?
I don't know.
Leaping over a 3-foot wall and out of its enclosure. No.
They might have misunderstood when they wrote this article, but that's what this says.
I don't think that's correct. I'm almost
Hilarious.
positive. I'm almost positive that it was 14 feet long. Oh, the wall was 1.2 meters, 4 feet shorter than the recommended minimum.
But it was more than 3 feet.
I think it was 12 feet.
That'd be hilarious if it was actually 3 feet. And they're like, whoa, what's the problem?
That's crazy that it's 4 foot shy.
I'm reading multiple articles. This one is this was also weird. I thought it happened in 2011. This says it was 2008, so I'm kind of confused on that too.
Maybe there's more than one of those.
But this was the same person that died in both articles.
Oh, how weird.
They're trying to say they were on drugs. It's like,
Yeah, this says the guys were
doesn't mean they deserve
high
to
and
die.
3 foot wall. That's so crazy. I could jump a 3 foot wall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not real.
I could try.
There's no
I could get
way.
you on the third try.
Yeah, you could probably at least get over the top of it. There's no way it was. There's no way that's this tall. That's crazy.
That would be hilarious if they just made it 3 feet.
Here's
They're like,
different.
they're like, he doesn't, you know.
From the San Francisco newspaper.
What does that one say?
A picture of what it was. The wall.
Bro, that's pretty high. It says,
Yeah.
oh, the new glass wall makes it 19 feet.
But it
The
looks like
current wall used to be 12 feet. So that's where it was, and the tiger jumped over that. And now they gave him an extra 5 feet. Fuck that place.
But
look
they
how
said
it-
the tiger
or 7
couldn't have made that jump on the distance. They said it was too far.
it looks like it's built to have that tiger jump off that top part onto the thing. It's like it's built so he can jump out.
Did they say the tiger jumped from the bottom or the tiger jumped from that top part?
The articles I was reading when it first happened, they weren't sure what the fuck happened. They were like, it doesn't make sense that it happened. They were like, someone must have helped it.
What? That's them covering their ass.
It is a little bit of that because
That's them covering their ass.
like, he
They
was-
know exactly what happened. There was eyewitnesses. People saw it happen.
Also, who could have helped it?
Yeah. So that's what it looked
I
like?
guess so. That's the first picture I've seen of that.
Oh, my God. Imagine that thing coming over the top of that.
It-
So they
That's,
could
that's the
even-
3-foot fence I
Yeah.
think that they were saying.
Exactly.
But wait, so if they're throwing pine, is this the pine cone thing or the
Yeah,
different?
Yeah.
So it had to be below if they're throwing pine cones. At
No,
it, right?
it could be over there. They could throw it over the ridge.
Do you think it got all the way to the?
Yeah, you could throw that. That's not that far.
No.
No,
It's kinda far.
no. That looks like 15 yards max. Let me see that again. Let me see that photo again. Yeah, that doesn't look that far, dude.
It's a big jump though.
I guess you can.
It's probably a big jump for a cat. I don't know if he made the jump. I think he made the jump from the bottom.
That's the one that was confusing said that it was basically in these bushes when they were standing on this rail throwing shit at it, and then they got too close and found out like there was one way closer than they thought.
That's
It doesn't
not what I
make sense.
heard.
I know it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. That what I had heard was the thing was over there. They were continuing to throw things at it, and it came towards them and jumped over the wall, which only makes sense. Eyewitness accounts, statements from the.
Here's already my confusion though. This is from 2011, and those last two articles were 2008.
Well, maybe they didn't release the whole
Could
story
be,
until
could be. Oh, yeah, it
2011.
does say 2008 right here.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. So it's
scale
a
the
lawsuit. Yeah, they should fucking sue for sure. I mean, definitely you shouldn't throw pine cones at tigers.
They don't deserve to die.
You're a fucking kid. You're a dumbass
Yeah.
kid. That could have been us. If we were both 17 and I'd go,
Yeah, of
I
course.
dare you to throw a pine cone. Come on,
Also,
pussy.
It's just a
There you
pine
go.
cone.
Yeah.
Jump from the bottom of the moat and
To the
pulled
dry
itself
moat to
over.
the top of the wall. Wow.
No, that's crazy.
From the bottom of the dry moat. So they got into the bottom of, like I thought.
Look at the
it was at the
victim
bottom
blaming.
of the thing.
I can't imagine jumping out unless it was provoked. Yeah, but it shouldn't be able to jump out if it's provoked.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
You should have a backup plan for the tiger's emotions.
Yeah. Also, why don't you have guards to make sure that someone doesn't do something like
The
that?
tiger can't get out as long as the tiger's chill.
Wow, followed someone's blood trail for about 300 yards where it resumed attacks. Oh my God. Photos show blood-smeared asphalt where the tiger apparently dragged Sosa's body. It found the
God.
blood trail. The tiger would leave a kill to go after something else unless it were a compelling reason. Oh my God, another victim blaming.
Yeah,
The
it's
tiger passed exhibits with warthogs, which it ignored as it followed the blood trail of the two brothers to the terrace cafe outside the dining area.
This is a real. What are they wearing? What were they wearing?
Yes.
You know what I mean? To
That's
provoke
exactly
it.
what it is.
They were high, or like
Yeah.
when a black person gets killed and they try to vilify the black guy. They're like, he was on drugs. It's kind of like that. They're like, he was high. They should have provoked him. It's like, you should have a cage where a tiger can't get out on any mood the tiger's in.
Yeah, any
whether
mood.
he's happy or mad, they should test every mood.
Yeah.
And see if he can jump out in any of the moods.
Also, what if it killed some old lady who was just there with her niece?
Yeah.
You know, showing her around. And what if, who the fuck knows what could have happened? You're just guessing.
And it didn't even kill the friend. It didn't even kill the guy. It killed the other guy.
I don't know who it killed. Now I'm saying that, I'm trying to remember.
But I bet it killed.
Yeah, it killed the younger of the three. The other two were brothers that were not killed.
Who was the one that threw the pine cones? Were they all throwing them?
I haven't found out.
It sucks that they know that tiger was like.
Maybe they were all throwing pine cones. Maybe I heard the story wrong.
Or the tiger was just clearly more annoyed by one of them. Like one of them had a more annoying face.
It's whoever the fuck is closest.
Yeah.
Who's closest? Who's going to get taken out first? This thing has never had a chance to take out anything.
Yeah, it's a little.
I mean, the whole reason they exist is they are the cleanup crew for nature. Anything that has a limp, anything that does something stupid, you go walking through the thick grass, that's a wrap. That's what they're there for. They're there they're there for overpopulation. Because they exist around deer.
Yeah, of course.
They exist around a very specific kind of deer. It's called an axis deer, and these deer move like lightning, dude.
Yeah.
You ever see the axis deer?
No, I don't think so.
They fucking they take off like it's crazy because they evolved around tigers.
Right.
So they just explode away so fast.
A lot of times you see those water buffalo moving, they seem to completely forget about tigers or lions until they jump out. And then they're like, oh shit. And then they all run away.
Not that many lions eat water buffaloes.
No.
They're so big. They're too dangerous. You could get a broken jaw, broken leg. They stomp your head. You're dead.
But yeah, I agree that predators, it sucks for them in a zoo, but you never want to have a zoo with just prey. That would kind of suck.
Reported that her claws were not frayed, suggesting that she made the 12-foot, 9-inch leap on her first attempt. Oh, my God. Dr. Dunker also reported that there was no disease or signs of trauma on the body other than bullet wounds for the cat. Jesus Christ. Do you know there's one specific tribe of lions in Africa that does hunt water buffalo?
Yeah.
Because they got stranded on an island.
Oh, wow.
The currents changed to this river, and these lions got stranded on this island that only has water buffalo.
Oh, wow.
And so the female lions evolved to become much larger than normal female lions. They look like Hulk lions. It's crazy. It's called relentless enemies.
Because they're the hunters, the females, right?
Yes, the females are the hunters. So they got as big as male lions.
Wow.
So the female hunters are they're jacked too. Like they look freakish because they have to take out water buffalo all the time.
Have you seen the video, the best nature video? I mean, it's the one about the water buffaloes walking and the lion comes and they it's like 4 lions and they never go after the big one. It's always like 4 of them after like a baby water bellow in like a wheelchair. It's like, and they push him into the water and then a crocodile comes out of the water and grabs the water buffalo, the baby, and then the lions are like having a tug of war with like the crocodile. It's like insane. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that.
That's
crocodiles are the ultimate cleanup crew.
Yeah.
You see if you can find that relentless enemies thing, because you got to see what these female lions looked like.
I can show it to us. We always get in trouble.
Right,
online.
just show it to us. Because these female lions, they don't even look real. They look like CGI lions. They're super jacked.
So the female lions are normally smaller, but they are the hunter.
They're the hunters. But this documentary, Relentless Enemies, see if you can find one of the images of the jack. Look at what she's built like.
Jeez.
She's built like a male.
That's insane.
She's
yeah.
fucking
Those
huge.
arms are huge, yeah.
Huge. Because
like
they have to take out water buffalo.
She's like a female bodybuilder.
It's a great documentary, though. It's because it's just about nature adapting.
Right.
Like, look at the size of her.
Oh, my God.
They're so much bigger. And, they have to be because these fucking things are ruthless. I mean, water buffalo are huge.
Yeah.
And they're tough as shit. You can hang off them with their claws, and they don't even notice it.
Yeah. They always have, like, bugs on them, and they don't notice. Like, yeah.
Fucking shit life.
Have you done this? Have you done a safari?
No.
My buddy McCabe, Dan McCabe, my friend, he did it, and he sent me a footage of a lion, like, killing a prey.
Right in front of him.
Yeah, he just filmed it. Yeah, it was.
And they're in those open Jeeps.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's
It's
that
insane.
about?
Yeah, lock that shit up.
What is that about? They just haven't figured out yet that they can get you?
People love, it's like the zoo. They love to have it all open.
Yeah.
They love to just push it as far as they can.
Bro, I want to be in an Iron Man suit with a chainmail gun.
Yeah.
One of those chain guns. I do not want to
I like how you
be-
said Iron Man suit like it's a real thing.
If I had one, I would
Wait.
wear, it's like...
Are those Iron Man suits?
What happened? Power went out?
Still recording over there.
Is the video recording?
The video's still, that's the only thing recording.
The video's the only thing recording?
Yeah.
Can we keep going or should we stop?
You can, in theory, keep.
Oh, there it goes again.
It's the hottest day of the year. We're going to have that problem with the AC being overpowered. But yeah, I mean, I'll turn everything back on.
Is today the hottest day of the year?
So far, yeah, it's going to be 107.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, we're still recording.
Really?
Yeah.
The camera's shut off and on too, though.
I don't know what to tell you. The
Everything's
screen's
good?
still on. Cameras are still on. That's
Okay.
still moving. Time's still going.
How hot is it today?
106, 107.
God, it didn't feel like it.
You ever be at a club where the lights go?
I don't know what to do. We might want to stop for like 5 minutes to make sure this doesn't keep happening while we have the opportunity before it fucks up more. I don't know. Your call.
But it's recording, right?
Yeah, but if it's flickered 4 or 5 times,
Right. What could possibly happen?
it stops recording.
It'll flicker it again.
Like while we have a chance for it to stop, we might want to take a break. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we'll take a little pee break. We'll come back, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folk. Now we're up. Oh, we were just about to complain about the government or whoever it is.
They're cracking down on our controversial takes
Yeah.
on lines and
It's
police.
YouTube, man. They're trying to ban free speech, man.
Yeah, I just got an update. There's a local outage. Yeah, it's going to take 2 hours to get everybody else's power up. We got lucky, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
Yeah,
I
down
feel
the street.
privileged.
Is it a brownout? Is this one of them brownouts?
I got a notice for my house. It says Austin Energy outage may affect until 4:38 p.m. That's 2 hours.
Texas has its own grid, which is great until it's not.
I've read the articles.
Yeah, it got real close. Apparently,
I've
during
seen it break
the
down.
cold front, it got real close. They were like 30 minutes away from losing the whole grid.
No, my best friend from here, Zach, and he was here during when they had to melt the snow or whatever so when it just became like
It was crazy.
some crazy survival thing.
That was the first year we lived here. No one knows how to drive in the snow. It was hilarious.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
People with Corvettes like spinning around in intersections.
No, he was melting snow. Why was he melting? Like they had to melt snow for something. It was
For what?
I don't know. It was like when it was like that movie Alive.
They
when
need
you have
water.
to-
They
needed
melted
water
snow
to
for
boil.
water?
Maybe it was for water. Yeah,
Could be.
I think the
Pipes froze.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have some water, folks.
Yeah.
Keep some water in your house. It's a good move. But yeah, if you're in a place that happens like that, and like if this happens in Boston, they know how to deal with snowy roads.
Yeah.
They fix things.
Yeah.
It's easy. They plow.
In
everything
the
gets
South,
back online.
Anytime
No.
there's snow, it all shuts down for
They
like
don't
2
have
weeks.
plows. Like,
Yeah.
hey guys, I've been here twice and it snowed. How about buy a fucking plow? Have one.
Yeah, I guess it just hasn't happened enough for them to, Yeah, but
That's so stupid.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. It was kind of like that too. Whenever it snowed, it would shut down the whole city.
It's funny if you grow up in a place like I grew up in Boston, which is like snow is just
They don't even
normal.
notice, yeah.
It's just normal. It's part of it's snowing out.
Did you even have did school ever close?
It had to fucking snow.
So that you
for
missed
school
that,
to
'cause,
close.
closing school was such a fun
Oh yeah,
experience.
no,
It happened every
we,
time.
We did have them. We did have snow days because
Yeah.
it did fucking snow.
Right.
But in places like there, if it's just snowing a little, they'll let you go to school. Go to school, bitch.
Was there anything better than a snow day? It was so
Yeah,
exciting.
It was amazing. You
Oh,
get a
my-
day off. I think I learned more in snow days than I did any other day.
Of course, and then you'd be like watching the TV, waiting for your county to be listed as like the one that closed.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck.
Like, please, I can stay home and watch cartoons,
It was
please.
It was no greater
Please.
joy than a snow day.
Oh, it was wonderful.
And now the snow sucks. You hate it.
Someone should redesign school. School's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just the whole design of getting kids to sit down all day. It's fucking terrible.
We wake them up at like farmer times. Like we wake them
Yeah.
up. I used to get up at like 5 a.m. like I was a farmer.
Yeah.
And your parents would just go back to bed. They're like, we don't go. They just get up and then they go back to sleep. I'd be on the bus at like 5 a.m. It was
Horseshit.
insane.
Terrible for kids.
And then they say we have ADD. We're fucking tired.
Yeah, tired and bored.
Yeah.
And this thing you're doing in front of me sucks.
I got back to the Adderall thing, so I got addicted, and I ended up.
What did you start off with? How much were you taking in the beginning?
I think probably like 30 milligrams.
Right away.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think maybe it was a little.
Jamie, you
less.
said 20 kept you up for 2 days?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a user, but 20 was plenty.
I don't like how I said user like that. Like I'm not a user like this junkie. I don't like how you said I'm not a user.
You started off with 30s.
Yeah.
Did you start taking it every day or
Yeah.
right away?
Yeah.
Recreationally?
First recreationally, then I got the prescription, so it was FDA approved.
So you did listen to a psychiatrist.
I did listen.
She is a doctor.
Yes, but then I started taking more and having to buy them off the street. And then I, at one point, I couldn't get any, and this kid I knew, this kind of bad seed, I asked him if he had any. He had like something he said his uncle made. It was like a synthetic drug. Turned out to be bath salts. I ended up taking them.
God.
I was a greeter at H&R Block, the tax place, and I just like basically had this horrible panic meltdown. Like it kicked in, and I just thought I was about to die. I remember I called my twin sister. I freaked her out. I was like, I think I'm about to die. Goodbye. And then I hung up, and then she called back, and she was like, call the ambulance. They called the ambulance. My heart rate was at like 100, and like, I don't know, probably what yours is when you're exercising, but it was fast. It was fast for me. Probably was normal. No, it was like 190, like crazy shit. And I totally.
That's redlining.
It was crazy. Yeah, I almost died, and then I ended up going to rehab for Adderall, which is kind of embarrassing.
How hard was it to kick?
I weaned off, which was, if you wean off, I think it's okay. Cold turkey is not for me.
So what did you said you were up to 90 a day, so how'd you wean?
It's just 80 1 week.
Really?
I think something like that, yeah.
So were you completely functional when you were on it, or were you out of your mind?
No, I was functional. I was annoying. That was the thing. I was annoying.
Oh, you couldn't stop talking.
Yeah, I got really annoying. And that it ended up like people are just, that's the thing. People think drugs will, I'm not like a crazy person, but I just annoyed everyone.
Right.
And so the intervention was more like, you're really annoying. You talk nonstop. And then I got off and it was kind of the same. It wasn't that different. I'm like, no, that's just me.
And you're allowed to work. It's actually a perk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually a plus.
But I miss it. I mean, I could never do it again. But I miss it. It was a great. It was my favorite drug. It made you, because I have, I have, like everyone, I have low self-esteem, and when you did it, it made me just write. I just was so productive on it.
Really?
Yeah, because when I write, I mean, I've gotten better at it now over the years. But when I write, you have that voice telling you it's shit, and you can't like move forward. Oh. And the Adderall, like, this was before I was doing stand up a little, but writing screenplays and stuff. And the Adderall gave me the confidence to just fucking plow through it. It wasn't all good, but some of it was good.
Well, I mean, that's why they were prescribing it to people back in the day when they first came up with it, like in Nazi Germany. Even before they were giving it to the Nazis, you could buy that. What was it called? What is it called? Pervitin? Pervitin.
That's the Hitler speed?
Well, it was the for sale version of methamphetamine that you could buy at drugstores.
Yeah.
And people would just take it. It was like a low dose. It's essentially just like, that's it right there. Kind of real similar to Adderall in a lot of ways. But it was it was methamphetamine.
Oh, right. And you just could take it. This is like over the counter, right?
Yeah.
It's back when they had like heroin.
Look at that,
candy.
methamphetamine hydrochloride.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
So it was a small dose, and people would take it all day long, and it gave them all this energy to get things done. I mean, think about the engineering that was coming out of Germany at the same time.
Yeah,
kind of nuts,
They
man.
were focused.
They were fucking dialed in.
He was really focused on that Jew hating. That Adderall really, that speed really focused.
Yeah.
If he wasn't on it, he probably wouldn't have killed as many people.
Well, if he wasn't on everything, he was on oxycodone, and they were giving him all these crazy animal hormones. He was having them remove animal organs, and they were injecting glands into Hitler's body. He was like, they were practicing on it.
But here's what I don't get. I've done oxycodone, and when I'm on it, I'm very loving. I love everyone. He was on it, and he was still hating it. If like he should have been like, I love the Jews, or great. Like the oxycodone should have made him like more lovey-dovey.
Yeah, that's why I was confused too, because I had always heard that it was meth. Because I knew that there was meth use, and I knew that Hitler liked cocaine, and they used to shoot him up with testosterone too.
And that makes sense. Like,
that makes sense.
You're a meth. You're like, we got a problem.
Yeah.
I'm focused. I'm going to commit to it. But the oxy, it's like when Rush Limbaugh, you found out he was on oxy. he was always so like angry.
Right,
And I
right,
feel like if
right.
I was on Oxy, I'd be like, everything's gonna work out.
Bro, he was on like 90 pills a day.
But where, like the love?
He did so much they think it's part of the reason why he went deaf.
Really?
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah, there's actually like a thing that happens when you overdose
Oh my
on
God.
opiate, take too much opiates, it fries your fucking ears.
But why, like, to have all that hate on
Right.
the painkillers? I just don't get. When I'm on painkillers, I love my enemies.
I think it's because you're a nice guy.
I
Yeah.
like that spin.
I think who you are, like at your core, like why you operate in life, whatever you're taking, whether it's alcohol or pot or whatever, it only enhances that who you are at your core. So if you're like an evil person deep down, but you're covering it, and then you get drunk and you get really vicious with people, those people are probably already vicious inside of them.
Right.
You
No,
know?
that's totally true.
Or if you're a happy drunk, you're probably a good guy. And you need a couple of
Right.
drinks to feel loose, and now you're fun, you're having a good time, you know, you're loving, you're hugging everybody.
No, that's a good point. It's like when I used to drink, I would like tell people I love them. Now I'm sober.
Yeah.
I don't tell anyone I love them. Now I'm sober. I'm worse sober.
Right.
Like that I'm just like rigid. You
That's
know?
the benefit of some drugs, is that they allow you to relax whatever insecurities you have and just be cool with people.
So my girlfriend, speaking of drugs, she's on like serious blood thinners because she just had a stroke.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How old is she?
Like a couple weeks ago. She's 85. And So when we started dating 2.5 years ago, she was about to get open heart surgery. Yeah, like she told me that on our first date.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and
Is this like something she was born with?
it was a congenitive heart thing, mitral valve. She had a mitral valve leak,
Oh, Jesus.
and she found it out. She's 37, and so 4 months into our dating, she got open heart surgery.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then everything was going well, and then like this was like this month, like I don't even, maybe a month ago. I'm going to see a screening of my friend's movie. This really great comic, Isabella Hagen, had funded her own movie. I'm going to see it. We're going to meet, and she calls me and she says she can't see out of her left eye. She's on the subway, and we had to like call an ambulance and like rush to the hospital. And like the crazy thing is, the ambulance did not take us right away. Like we got in there and they like had to make her fill out her insurance
Oh, my God.
for like 20 minutes.
Oh, my God. That's
that
so
insane?
great with one eye.
With one eye.
Oh, my God. That's
Yeah.
so crazy.
I thought an ambulance just goes.
I thought they'd go, too.
They were like getting the insurance. She's like dying. They're like, "What's your group member ID number?"
Oh, my God.
And then they finally went, and there was no siren. We just had the ambulance without the siren, which
oh,
was
my God.
pointless, you know. And
So ambulance in traffic.
ambulance in traffic. We get to this like ER type place. They think she's having a stroke, and we had like a person on TV. It was like Black Mirror. They got like some neurologist who was like on vacation. They brought the TV in like a TV, and she was on the video. The camera was moving around the room, looking at people. It was so bizarre. And she said if it's a stroke, she had to go on like really intense, like blood thinners for the day. And that they were so intense that if she even bumped her head, she could get bleeding in the brain. So they had
my
to like
God.
observe her for like a day on these really, like she couldn't go anywhere because if she bled so easily on these blood thinners.
Right. She said to stay put.
Yeah, so they gave it to her. She started bleeding out of her mouth right
Oh
away.
my
She had like a cut in her mouth. She was like smiling, like blood coming out of her mouth.
Oh
and,
my God.
And then the craziest part is, so they had to take her to the ICU to observe her. But we weren't at an ICU. We were at like an ER that didn't have people stay the night. So we had to, even though she was on these blood thinners, because you had to go on them for 4 hours, they had to put her in an ambulance in the rain. And we had to drive to a place where she couldn't move for a day because she could get, if she got hit.
Oh
Her
my
head was like
God.
on the glass.
Oh, my
It
God.
was insane. Yeah, it was insane.
A lot of problem with like EMTs and people like that. It's not a problem, but it's part of the job as they get real accustomed to people being fucked up and dying.
I know that. Yeah, they didn't seem to be that urgent.
It's kind of crazy. Like I've talked to friends that worked as EMTs, and they have the most morose senses of humor.
I know. Yeah,
and they're so used to people dying, and they tell you stories. They all have PTSD. They're all
Right.
fucked up. They all get the gunshot wounds, and
Yeah.
they all see the
Oh, it's
worst
insane. You
shit:
just
car
see-
accidents, the
Yeah.
worst shit, motorcycle crashes.
For us, it was like a huge emergency, but for them, it's like, that's just a stroke. Her head's intact,
Christ.
whatever.
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
She can't get it back. She has like a blind spot in her right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And no way it's coming back, or
She's gotten used to seeing out both eyes, but when she closes one eye, there's like this it's like your forehead would be like a little whited out.
Oh wow!
And I don't think it's gonna come back. She's doing great. She's like handled it very well. But yeah, it's it was sad. We left the hospital after like a couple days, and it was the saddest part is like we went outside and there was like a sunrise or a sunset, and she was like, I can't. It doesn't look very pretty to me.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was awful. But she's gotten a lot. I think she can see a lot. She's more adjusted to it. But I feel so old. I'm like, my girlfriend had a stroke. I got a pastrami sandwich for her there, and I felt like just an old Jewish couple just eating a pastrami sandwich with
After
her.
one of them had a stroke.
After one of them had a stroke, like, yeah, take your pastrami.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
But you know, I never thought in a million years I'd be the healthier one in the relationship.
That's the luck of the draw.
It's nice. It evens out. Like when she had open heart surgery, we were both, I make a bit about this, but we were both kind of equally out of breath. After that, we go up subway stairs and we'd both just be like,
Oh
panting.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, but she's doing great, and she's, you know, she handles it very well. She's like a better person than me, which is kind of annoying. So even in the hospital, she was like super worried about. She's a therapist. She was super worried about like her patients while she was having the stroke.
Oh wow!
It's kind of annoying when people are like
that good.
Yeah, you're like, shut
Yeah.
up.
Well, that's the kind of therapist you want.
Yeah.
So hope she doesn't get jaded by the world.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But
Therapist, that's another one. I mean, you got to think everyone's out of their fucking mind because everybody you're talking to is out of their fucking mind.
Oh yeah, and she sees people like it's, you know, she helps. She's a social worker therapist, so she helps people who have like, you know, typically can't afford like. So it's not white people problem therapy.
Right.
It's like, you know, safety planning.
Yeah.
You know, how do I, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's not like I feel unhappy. It's like your husband beat you. How do we get you out of the house? Kind of stuff. You know.
Boy.
Yeah, she has an intense life, but it's good. It's nice to date because, to me, the hardest part about dating someone is their job. They have to tell boring work stories, and you just have to deal with it.
Right.
But her stories are never boring. They're always like insane shit. You know.
I guess that's better.
I mean, it's better than pretending you care about like her friend being mad at her at the, you know, whatever.
After a certain point in time, you might look for that.
Yeah,
You might be like, I'm looking for nonsense talk now.
I like heavy.
Do you?
I think so. Even when she told me she had about to get open heart surgery. I mean, I
excited?
liked her. I didn't get excited, but I was like, I'm not. I don't like shy away from that stuff. You know.
That's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it feels like we've been married for like 25 years now.
Wow. Yeah, you've gone through a lot, right?
Yeah.
You
Heart
really
surgery
learn
and a
about
stroke.
someone if someone's going through heart surgery, how
Yeah.
you react to it.
In the hospital when she had it, there's like, have you ever been to the hospital if someone gets surgery?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a giant terminal thing that shows everyone's names, and it says like in the middle, if they're in the middle of surgery or not.
Ooh.
And then sometimes it'll just flash canceled. And you're like, did that person die? But I think they just like, they
Canceled
decided
the
not to.
surgery.
Yeah, but yeah, it's intense. But I got a couple good bits out of it, and that's what's important.
Did she get upset that you have bits about it?
No. Maybe she might have been disturbed a little by the speed in which I. Well, it's tough. I was in a rut a little, and you know, sometimes you're in a rut with comedy, and then something crazy happens. It just starts
Right.
coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the problem is if it involves someone else.
We get in that
Yeah.
argument a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I get. I mean,
Oh,
she's not
yeah.
a comedian. She doesn't give a shit. Like, I just want to be personal.
Right.
I want to bravely disclose all her personal. I want to bravely disclose all her.
And how much trouble you're having dealing with
this is
her
hard.
open heart.
Yeah, like, I'm very brave for bringing this stuff up about you.
Absolutely. I feel that way.
But yeah, no, but she's amazing. And yeah, it's my first like serious relationship, and I'm already in like serious, and I went from like
Your first ever like, serious one?
like moving in with the person.
Oh, wow.
I know I'm like 40. It's
But
kinda
you're a
sad.
comic, and it's like it's so hard for comics to just settle down to just staying put and doing things with a person and
It's
hanging
tough.
out. You're just
Yeah.
so used to just running from club to club
know.
and set to set and meeting your friends, and it just becomes a bizarre lifestyle.
Especially when I moved to New York, I got into the cellar, and at that point, like it's really hard to date people because you get a lot of spots and you can't see
Right.
anyone. But
Yeah, your night times are filled,
yeah, exactly.
and they get mad Like, you don't have to do a set tonight, but I do.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
I remember when I was dating this girl, I was 25, and she was like, you don't have to go up tonight. I'm like, but I do. I suck. I need to get better. This is only one way to do it.
I know. But I am working with, like, my therapist about realizing that, like, you know, I always for years thought the person you're in a relationship with is somehow, like, an enemy of your artistic process, you know? Like, they're there to stifle you. And it's an unhealthy way of thinking, and I've tried to work about it.
How did you develop that way of thinking, you think?
I think my mom, though she's great, was, like, pretty overbearing, like a Jewish mother. And I think she was so kind of, like, always, like, overbearing, like, always wanting to know what was going on, that I think my response was just, like, go in my room and shut people out. And so I think I'm afraid. And she, you know, she's a Jewish mother, so she just tells me everything to do at all times.
Right.
So I think I've associated intimacy with someone. I came up with this. My therapist brought this up. I'm not smart enough to realize this, but I think I associate intimacy with someone trying to stifle me or smother me, you know?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, something where you're trying to, you know, be in something.
But that also can happen if you're with someone who they don't understand. Like, if they have unreal expectations. They expect you to just quit doing like, I had a friend, and he was a good comic, and he was dating this woman who wanted him to get a job. And he was doing pretty good. You know, he wasn't, like, headlining all the places, but he was middling quite a few places.
Yeah.
And, like, he had some bits that were bangers. He had some good bits, and he could have been a really good comic. And then he got divorced a couple years later. Like, I ran into him 3 years later. He got divorced. He was trying to do comedy again, but he hadn't done comedy in 3 years. And he lost all of his momentum, and he couldn't get spots, and no one gave a shit, and everybody else had kind of moved on and moved up.
And that's a bad relationship because she doesn't understand him, or, like, she thinks, like, my thing is my girlfriend doesn't think that way, and I sometimes find myself projecting that onto her.
Right.
Because I project, like she'll just be like, I'm not comfortable with you doing this joke, and I'm like, quit trying to silence me.
I think the thing was with this guy is that he was in his 30s, and it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, probably the parents, like, what is he doing? What if he doesn't make it, you know?
Right.
Like, have you ever experienced that? I had a girl that I was dating when I was 21, and her father said that, like, what if he doesn't make it? Like, that. First of all, I'm fucking 21.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a little kid.
Right.
Leave me alone, asshole.
Yeah.
But second of all, like, who knows? Yeah, he's right. He's like, who fucking knows?
Yeah,
I might not
course.
make it, but I'm going to try. I'm not going to not try because I might not make it. That's a pussy's way to live life.
Of course. And, like, yeah, I mean, you have to, like, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not about making it. It's about if you love something, do it. And do it even if you're broke. I mean, to me, I don't believe in, like, I don't think of things as having a safety plan. David Mamet, I think it was him said that, like, don't have a safety plan because you'll end up falling back on it.
Yeah, that's common. Yeah, don't have a net.
Don't have a net.
You will fall.
I think you just have to, if you love something, like for me, I love comedy. I love, like, making movies. I'm focused on that.
That's wonderful. But there are guys that are doing open mic nights for 25 fucking years, and they're still terrible.
Yes.
Maybe those guys should move on.
Oh, 100%.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
The question is, are you one of those people, right?
Right. And at 21, I really didn't know if I was one of those people. But you have to at least give it a chance. And if you're dating someone that doesn't want you to do something wild and take a chance, like, this is not going to work.
Yeah, it's definitely good, especially if you have a kid. I feel like it's definitely good to already have a career of some. Like, I have a career. It's not, like, amazing, but it's a career.
Yeah.
And that helps. Like, it's like I am making money. So,
yes.
Like, but it's really tough if you're like, don't make money and then you get in a relationship, especially if you have a kid.
Oh, if you have a kid and you're starting out as a comic, boy, that is a fucking uphill slog.
You're fucked because then you're also selfish now. Like, you're selfish if you're taking spots when you should be getting. So that's tough. You know what I mean?
Well, if you live in the city, at least you can do it when everyone's asleep.
Right.
You know, I did when I was living in LA, I would do 10 o'clock shows. So I'd be at home, and then everybody's basically going to bed. I'm like, I'm going out. I'm going to go do shows. So I do shows from 9 p.m. on.
That's true. But how was it hard when you first had a kid? Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's got to be tough doing comedy. Like,
it's crazy. Months. But it's also, you know, the thing is, like, they go to bed early. And as long as you have a spouse that understands what's going on and she's cool with it, you can go out and do sets.
Yes.
But if you're starting out then, and this is like this pipe dream that you have, and you're not making any money doing it, that's a totally different thing. Like I was already a headliner, I was already on television, I was already making money. Like that's how we made money. I had to go do comedy.
Exactly.
So that's a job, but it's not a dream. You know, it's like if you're chasing a dream and you're 36 and you have 3 kids and you want to quit your job at the accounting company, like yikes, bro.
Now you're kind of being an asshole.
Well, it's like, what are they? You better get really fucking good before you quit that job. Like, and how are you gonna have the time to get really fucking good?
Yeah, exactly. You want to, like, if you're going to have a kid, I think, and we talked about this possibility at some point, it's like you want to at least make enough money in your career that if you had a kid, you'd actually just have to work harder at your career as opposed to getting another career.
Right, exactly, exactly. And it's like there's a lot of people that they have the dream of stand-up, but they probably haven't really gone at it 100%.
Yeah, well, that's the other
and they
thing.
still have this thing in the back of their head that one day they will, and one day they'll really bear down and really start writing and really start performing more often and going up more than twice a week, and they just don't. And then they get into the situation where, like, oh my God, everyone's kind of passed me by.
I know.
And all the guys I started out with are now working professionals touring the road, and I'm still stuck in L.A.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to work hard at it. We were talking about if we had a kid. Like I was like talking to her. I was like, well, you would, on the weekend I'd be on the road, but during the day, during the week, I'd babysit the kid. And she's like, doesn't feel like you're very serious if you're referring to it as babysit. Your own kid.
Yeah, you can't say,
doesn't seem like
what'd you do all day? I babysat. Oh, whose kids? Mine. What?
Doesn't seem like you're really committed to it.
It seems like
I'll babysit the kid.
You have a very clear responsibility, and it's not yours. I'll do your job for you if you want to take a nap. That you go
I'll
back to
babysit
doing
the kid for you.
You do back to being the boss of the kids.
Just pay me $10 an hour.
Give me what number to call if anything goes wrong. Yeah, that's hilarious.
But yeah, it's having a kid is scary, but I think it's good.
I think it's good,
Yeah.
but it's not good for everybody, and it's not good depending upon what kind of relationship you're in.
Right. You definitely can't do it to save a relationship.
Oh my God, I've seen that happen before. We're like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? You guys are about to break up, and now you're having a kid?
Yeah, that doesn't work. No one's like, we're about to break up.
It's going to keep us together. Well, yeah, but sort of, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you'll always talk.
I feel like kids break people apart more than anything.
They break some people apart. They bring some people closer. They definitely brought me and my wife closer.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's just like comics look at it as a thief of their time.
I know.
And Louis said it best. He said you just got to let it change you.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good advice. Because it definitely changes you, and you can't resist it. You just got to be who you are now. You're just a different person now. Now you're a person that's watching babies come out of your wife's body and then grow up and talk to you, and you take them to do things together, and you have fun and laughing together. It's like this very strange thing where a life that did not exist now exists.
Right.
And you love it more than anything you've ever loved in your life. You love this person.
And you love it no matter if the kid is like telling a boring story. Like it goes beyond. Like with your friends, you're like, every story's got to be entertaining, But with people you love, it's like you just love them.
I talk to my kids about the most boring shit. But to them, it's not boring. Like they like to talk about bands they like and stuff they like. And it's interesting. It's fascinating to watch their little minds grow and the way they interface with the world and see them develop skills and things.
Yeah,
and
all my siblings have kids. They're a lot of fun.
it's time to do it if you're 40.
I know. I keep on acting like I'm rushing. I keep on acting like I'm rushing into things. I'm like, I don't know. It seems so quick. And then I'm like, wait, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
I always think I'm rushing into things when it's actually like the last chance, or at least the last chance of the. We will. It's going to be a little on hold because of the stroke.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, she's on blood thinners now. She's like a hemophiliac.
How long does she have to stay on those for?
What?
How long does she have to stay on those?
Until they figure out what kind of caused it.
Roger Ailes was a hemophiliac?
Mm-hmm.
Was he?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's a scary one.
I know.
Anybody could just punch you to death.
Yeah. Or just,
just give you a bloody nose and you bleed out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's how she was. I mean, she's not like that now, but in the ICU, she's basically hemophiliac. Yeah.
And so she has to stay on these for how long?
I think they're trying to find out exactly. They still don't know what caused the stroke.
Wow.
They assume it's something to do with the heart surgery.
Makes sense.
Either that or God hates her and just giving her a bunch of shit.
A double whammy to deal with.
But I think it's. I think they'll find out. But yeah, hopefully not. I mean, I think she'd have to get off if we had a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have like six nephews and nieces.
So you've got baby fever a little bit. Seems like you keep talking about it.
A
little bit.
Little bit.
Little touch.
Little touch, but
Little
also,
touch,
you know.
touch of the fever.
But also like not having a kid. I don't know. They both have good points and bad points.
For sure. I don't think everybody needs to. But there's a lot of people that have kids that say everybody should have a kid. I think you can have a wonderful life without having children. I think it's totally possible. But
well, the people who killed their kids probably should have had kids. Everybody should have it.
Yeah, I read this horrible story about this child prodigy that like the mother trained this child to do everything, and then they rebelled at 18 and she killed them.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Oh,
rebelled against the thing.
I forget what I got so disturbed by it. I turned the page, but I was reading about this.
But that person shouldn't have had a kid.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of psychos that their kid is just a representation of it's not an individual human being. It's their property. It's them going through life. You will do what I tell you to do. You will be a lawyer. You will be a football player. Whatever the fuck it is. Like.
Well, that's why the other bullshit thing, the people who act like kids make you a better person. That's not
everybody.
That's not true. Yeah.
Listen, it's like the oxycodone thing.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Exactly. It intensifies. Yeah. It's actually who you are, but now there's like much bigger moral consequences. Like you can be kind of a dick, but it's not that big of a deal. But then if you have a kid and you're still a dick, now you're like a bad person.
Yeah.
Where before you're just like a kind of a dick.
Or you're just exuding excellence in broadcasting.
Yes.
Kind of makes sense why he's so cocky. The guy was like flying high all day.
Wait,
like, wee, Rush.
Rush. Oh,
yeah. That's excellence in broadcasting.
Yeah.
That was his thing, right?
He
excellence in broadcasting. Rush Limbaugh.
Just never at once just be at peace. It's
it just made me think, too, like this whole idea of conservatives being like buttoned down, sober people who like look at the world clearly. No, your fucking main guy's pilled out of his fucking mind, spouting out nonsense. Obama's from Kenya. We'll be right back.
They're like the real fucking hippies on all these drugs. Yeah. No.
Well, as long as it's prescribed by a doctor, it's not a drug.
That's how I go by it. You know?
The doctor
FDA
said.
approved.
The doctor said. I told the doctor I have an Adderall problem. They gave me a prescription.
It is so funny to be like that. I have a real problem. We'll just prescribe it for you.
That is so wild that they said that to you.
I know. It was insane.
That's so wild. Yeah, well, you need it. You're on it. You shouldn't get off of it because then you could die or something. You could fucking be slow and not as.
It was hard to get off. It was hard to like go back to writing without it. You know?
Yeah.
It's tough, but I had to do it, and I can't go back on it now because I would chain smoke on it, and I quit smoking. And honestly, that's more worrisome. Like if I took an Adderall, I would just chain smoke again.
It seems like a lot of coping. A lot of things going on in your head right now.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about this. Yeah.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
Because it always has a grip on you.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe I could go back, but then I would start chain smoking, and I don't want to do that, so I don't want to go back.
All right, let's do it. Let's relapse right now.
Just fucking crush them and start snorting them.
Lloyd Bridges from Airplane. Bad day to get back on Adderall.
Yeah, I've avoided those, but I've been curious about Adderall.
Have you never done it?
Nope, never done. Never done cocaine. Never done Adderall.
So you're not, because you do drugs.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, I got very lucky, and not lucky, but one of my friends, his cousin, was addicted to coke, and I watched this guy's life completely fall apart. He was selling coke, and it was like he got bit by a vampire.
Yeah.
Like it was a different person. Like he was real skinny and like look all gaunt and shit, and just coked up all the time and fucked up.
You're not supposed to use your own supply. That's like a big
Well, he didn't follow the rules.
He did not follow the coke.
I think a lot of them don't follow. He wasn't like a businessman. He was a guy who like got coke and sold some of it.
Such a nerd, but that's not drug dealer protocol.
Yeah, I mean it's from the biggie, the 10 crack commandments.
10 crack commandments. Don't get high off your own supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of coke back in the day, too. It was, I mean, you see a lot of sunrises, which is pretty.
That's a good way to look at it.
I've seen way more sunrises now than I would have if I didn't do cocaine.
But what about when you were getting up at farmer hours? You saw a lot of sunrises then, too.
Yeah, but as a kid, I didn't appreciate it, you know?
So the Adderall
when you're a
keeps
kid,
you
you're
awake.
never like, oh, well, look at a beautiful sunrise.
And it's easier to stay awake than it is to get up.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Very good
Great point.
If you're on Adderall, it's way easier to just stay up.
That sounds like a profound line in a song.
Yeah.
Like a Dylan line. It's easier to...
When I was young, I used to love staying up all night. I used to think it was awesome that I would be going to bed when everybody was running around.
Oh, yeah? It is.
That's my favorite thing.
It's a sacred time. I have this comedian friend of mine, great comic, Ben Moore. He had awful sleeping schedule where he would literally go to bed at 9 in the morning and woke up at 5 p.m. and just started his day when everyone was like ending their...
Was he a comic?
Yeah, he's a comic.
That's comic life.
Yeah, that's a little too much.
That's a lot.
You need sunlight.
Yeah, every now and then you probably shouldn't do that, but every now and again do it. I don't think it's so bad.
But I like
When you're
like
young.
sunlight. Yeah, I like to,
It's good for you. That's how you get vitamin D. How you stay healthy. But when I was like in my early 20s when I lived in New York, I would stay up all night, all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I'd go to bed.
Not on cocaine. That's very
No.
impressive. Just high on life?
Playing pool mostly.
Oh, you're a big pool guy?
Yeah, so like I'd go to the clubs, then afterwards go to the pool hall, play pool till 4 o'clock in the morning, go to a diner.
Oh, wow.
Get something to eat with my friends. 6 o'clock in the morning. I was hanging out with just complete derelicts.
Uh-huh.
Like pool hustlers and crazy people and comics, so it was like no one was normal. And so then
Wow.
it was normal. So if I called someone at 5 o'clock, I said I just woke up, they would think it was funny. It's like, I was up all night. It was normal. It wasn't like you loser.
Right.
It was like, oh, you're living the crazy young life.
And you liked it, huh?
It was good times.
I'm impressed that you could do that without cocaine. I feel like that's very impressive.
Yeah, but when you're playing pool all night and you're drinking coffee and just hanging out, it's the time. And also, I was so used to it. I didn't have anything to get up for.
Right.
I didn't have a job.
This is when you're doing comedy.
Yeah, I just started making money doing comedy, so I had enough money that comedy for the first time in my life was like legitimately paying my bills.
Oh, wow.
Paying my rent. I had a car. Like I was driving around to gigs. I was doing like headliner gigs in Connecticut and Jersey, like $500 there, $350 there. So every week I was making like a good amount of money, and I was just having a good time.
That's great. They always talk about like the moment where you start making it and you can quit your day job.
Yeah.
That never happened. I would have day jobs and make a little money on comedy, and then the day job would want to fire me because I wasn't there enough. But I'd like, no, I need this job. I don't make enough in comedy. And then they'd fire me. I'd be like forced to like focus on comedy.
How many years in did you become a complete professional?
I think like 11.
Oh, wow. So you
time.
really did keep a job for... Do you think the job held you back, or do you think it helped you?
No, I only had like shitty, like kind of like part-time jobs.
Right.
I think around 9, I started opening for Kathleen Madigan on the road, and that's when I first started having money. And she was great, and it was great working with her.
She's hilarious.
She's amazing, and I really learned a lot from her, and she's one of the best. And that's when I first kind of had money, where I could like actually move to New York. I think I had part-time jobs, and I was just living with my parents and doing comedy on the road, going to like the loony bins and shit, taking Greyhounds. I took Greyhounds everywhere. It was
Nice.
I paid my dues.
Nice.
I would take like an 18-hour Greyhound.
Ooh, I did that
like-
a couple of times.
It's insane. It
Bus
was
trips to a gig are rough.
It's like the DMV on wheels. It's just the most depressing.
It's the weirdest fucking people. Like, where are you in normal walks of life other than Walmart?
You're like, yeah, how did you even get on a bus? You're
Yeah.
like, I've heard like the craziest shit on, like the Greyhound is just like an insane. But
Remember that story about that one guy who cut a guy's head off on a Greyhound?
I used to have a bit about it because like other comics, other comics have like the observational airplane material.
Right.
But I wasn't doing well enough to get airplane. I'd open all my bits with Greyhound material.
Oh, wow.
Just got here from the Greyhound. I had a bit about like I was surprised the bus even stopped after that. Usually they just keep on going and hope the shit works itself out.
Yeah, that guy, what was he? He was just like schizophrenic or something? He cut some guy's head off that was sitting next
He's
to him?
schizophrenic. It was a carny.
Canada man who behead bus passenger granted freedom.
Oh, yeah.
What?
The Canadian legal system is insane.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, he got out.
He's been granted freedom. Full freedom?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. When you read this, it'll make you like appreciate America.
He was deemed not criminally responsible and received mental health treatment. A review board in Manitoba ordered his discharge without monitoring, saying he did not pose a significant threat. When you behead someone on a bus, aren't you a significant threat?
I just feel like once you beheaded someone, that's it. That's it for you.
Oh, my God.
Right?
He removed his internal organs.
He ate them.
Repeatedly stabbed him. Oh, my God. Attack began without warnings. Alerted by screams from the victim, the driver stopped the bus and fled with the passengers as Mr. Baker continued his attack. He was found not criminally responsible in 2009 for the killing, spent 7 years in treatment in secure wing of a psychiatric hospital. The voice told me I was the third story of the Bible, that I was like the second coming of Jesus, and I was to save people from a space alien attack. He also said he was really sorry for what he'd done.
It's funny back to back.
It's the best that
I
they
was the
took them
third.
completely out of context. Generally, I'm not a fan of that. But in this stretch, I put that back up. I like how they talked them completely out of context and said, really sorry, in quotes. Not even ...
I was killing to prevent space aliens, but also, my bad.
Are you sorry? I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay.
There's something about really sorry that's just very funny for that.
Well, he definitely doesn't pose a significant threat to the safety of the public. Imagine if that's your friend. This guy cut your friend's head off and they just let him out.
It's insane. No, they did a radio lab about this. Like, in America, if you behead someone, that's like the
That's
end
a
of
wrap.
your. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
As it should be. I feel like once you cut off a head, there's no resuscitating your career. But there, they just like observed him for a little bit.
He believed the victim was an alien. Well, he had his reasons. Did you hear about the lady in California that smoked weed and she stabbed her boyfriend? She killed him. She stabbed him like 11 times, something crazy. And they deemed her not criminally responsible because she went psychotic. She had a psychotic break
But
from
here's
the
the thing:
weed.
was she really sorry?
She was really sorry.
She was really sorry.
Yeah,
If she was
in
really
quotes.
sorry.
I think she said really. So
Really,
we're-
really.
I think we're good.
I feel like that guy needed another really. Don't you
I feel
think?
like that is one of those moments where I go, okay, if that was a man that did that to a woman and had the same excuse, I do not think anybody would buy it.
No.
Not for a fucking second.
Just to be like,
Woman, 108 times. Excuse me. 108 times. Did I say 11?
said 11,
I meant
yeah.
108. Gee, what the fuck? California, I forgot.
a potent strain of pot.
Yeah, it's
That's
super
a really
potent.
potent
But it was really potent. Dude, relax. Stop being so judgy. I mean, it was really potent.
Do they have to call it potent?
She went to jail scot-free. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. What is the difference between involuntary and I didn't mean to kill him. I only stabbed him 108 times.
Yeah, I guess involuntary is.
One time should be attempted murder, and if you actually kill them, it's murder.
Well, yeah, of course.
Right?
Premeditated.
That's one stab.
Yeah, premeditated comes in for murder.
Right.
So you need,
Okay. But wait a minute. Isn't it second-degree murder if it's not premeditated? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's what second-degree murder is.
manslaughter's
Like,
like
you don't
an
mean to.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
manslaughter is an accident.
Isn't it weird that premeditated is worse? Because the other one is kind of like, oh, he could kill at any time without warning, but that should get a lesser sentence.
Yeah,
I feel
kinda
like
crazy.
that's the scarier one. The premeditated is like, well, at least you might know if he's planning it again because he plans it. You know.
I see what you're saying.
But
Like,
the
he's
other
got
one's
his
like-
reasons.
Like
right?
the guy on the bus is like, I could kill anyone at any time, and they're like, well, that's not as bad.
Although the two were dating, Spetcher told the outlet she never considered Amelia her official boyfriend and said she told him she no longer had any romantic interest in him 2 days before killing him. Okay.
I like how
She
they
claimed
have
he was aggressive, intimidating, and had a temper, she told the outlet. So when he encouraged her to hit a bong on the day of the stabbing, she gave into the pressure, then went into a deadly psychosis. Well, I think her alibi is that he was really annoying. He seemed super annoying. He got real loud and yelly.
Yeah,
guy-
imagine that for a woman.
He
Like,
got super shouty. Fuck that guy.
imagine a guy doing that.
But also,
Kinda sorry quote.
so we're both accountable. Oh my God. But there's obviously been more attention to my part versus Chad's part. The part where the guy got stabbed 108 times.
I feel like
Yeah.
people are really focused on me,
Yeah,
and I just
it's
don't think
like
it's the full story.
Such sexism
You
and
sta-
bullshit.
I stabbed him 108 times, but like he
But he was
also
yelly.
raised his voice a lot.
He got shouty.
yeah, but they're just focusing on the.
And he scared me. Okay? He fucking raised his voice.
That's the problem. Stabbing someone 111 times will really.
108.
108.
Rude.
Sorry, 108. It wasn't that potent. of weed.
Hyperbole is
Also, I love how they say potent weed, as if
super potent.
As if that's the strand. Like you go to the drugstore, they're like, this strand will have you stab your boyfriend.
Months before the fatal encounter, Amelia's roommate also had an extreme reaction after smoking out of the same bong, Goldstein said. He suffered hallucinations and fear of death. But that just sounds like he got too high.
That's just what every time I get
What
high.
fucking bong does this guy have?
Yeah, she only smoked pot less than a half a dozen times prior to the stabbing, her lawyer said, describing her as a naive user. She's naive. But just imagine the sexes being reversed. She got really yelly, and I got real nervous. And, I'd only smoked pot like 6 times before that.
Oh, well, then in
Oh.
that case, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Are you really, really sorry? Well, also, like, what about her part?
Well,
She was kind of responsible.
It's just funny that they're using weed like it's bath salts or
Right.
crystal meth. They're just
Exactly.
like, it was a really strong
Wasn't
weed.
even that high.
31% THC. That's pretty high, son.
But it's like, no matter how,
Because it's caution for high tolerance users only. Yeah, but the problem is the side effects or the effects of marijuana do not match that at all.
No.
It's the opposite.
I don't. Yeah, that's. I think that's on her.
Los Angeles-based dispensary found marijuana flower for sale legally with TH levels as high as 39%. That's even more potent. Similar levels were available Friday from a local competitor, but yet no one's running around stabbing people. It's just so crazy that they accepted that. That sounds so nuts. And you talk about victim blaming. Well, what about Chad? Chad was really
Oh, his
shouty.
name was Chad? Then never mind.
Yeah, his name was Chad.
Never mind then.
Didn't that say that's his name, right?
I hate
Chad.
that name. No,
It's not a good name for a guy that got stabbed. Automatically, unless her name's Karen, automatically you're going to be on.
Sean.
It was Sean? Why did she?
But it's like what we said, like
Chad. Wait, yeah, killing of Chad. Yeah, I don't know why it says Sean here.
Chad. Chad.
People don't even care about the guy's fucking
Sean.
name.
Fuck Chad.
His father, Sean.
I mean, like, yeah, that's what we talked about before. When the drug brings out who you are inside.
Right.
Like the killing of the stabbing someone 108 times. That's you. You
But
know.
also, like, how do you keep doing it after you do it one or two? How do you
I
keep?
know. It's
how do you
really
keep-
boring after a while.
That's so crazy. Like your arm must get tired. You stabbed him
Good point.
108 times.
It's actually a pretty impressive workout.
You should probably like hurt herself. What
Yeah.
about that? What about that? She got
Yeah.
hurt too. What about that?
It's a good point. Yeah.
It's just I couldn't imagine ever
A guy.
seeing those roles reversed. There's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah, I stabbed her 108 times, but here's the thing. She was real naggy,
Super shouty.
and I was pretty high.
Yeah, I got really high, and I
was
don't
pretty
get that high.
And that, all right, you are set
I only
free.
smoked pot 5 or 6 times. That's not like
Not
your first
guilty.
time. That's not even like 5 or 6 times is like, you know what weed does?
But weed doesn't
Doesn't do that.
anything. It doesn't make you kill people.
No. I mean, you can go crazy though.
You can freak out.
Some people freak out. They really do. But that she must have really despised that guy, and that might have been like popped out of her. Like,
That's not-
why am I
yeah.
with this fucking idiot?
That's in there, not that deep.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just like, yeah, fuck. Yeah.
108 times.
I mean, I've had like, I get anxious on weed.
Yeah, but you don't go around stabby.
No, I just sit there thinking everyone's going to hate me and I'm going to die. I
Yeah.
don't like think about stabbing people.
108 times.
That is
Yeah,
excessive.
if you did anything 100 times when you're high, you probably meant to do it.
Yeah, it seems like if you hit 108 golf balls, that's what you're trying to do.
That's about the max you could do. You get pretty fucking tired.
Seems like she was more on Adderall with that amount of stabbing.
That sounds so crazy. I want to know if she was on anything else along with it, because like if you mix like Zoloft with cocaine, it's very dangerous.
Oh, really?
There's certain things that if you mix stuff with, no bueno.
Really?
Yeah, people lose their fucking marbles.
What's bad with Prozac? I'm on Prozac.
That's a good question.
should
What is
know.
bad with Prozac? Let's find out. If you're on Prozac, should you be taking edibles?
Oh boy.
What happens?
I take one every night.
Oh, well, you're the test. It's fine for you.
I was looking up
That's the thing. It's like what's fine for you is not fine for everybody.
NyQuil because I was taking. I also take a sleeping pill. And I wanted to see if NyQuil.
Here it goes. Okay. You shouldn't take. It may increase your risk for bleeding problems. Oh, a couple of strokers. Make sure your doctor knows if you're also taking other medicines that thin the blood, including nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen. What else?
I take Advil all the time.
It interacts with monoamine oxidase inhibitors, MAOIs, other antidepressants, and blood thinners.
Sounds like I'm okay. I can't
So
mix it with
don't
my
take-
girlfriend's medication.
That's saying don't take ayahuasca though.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm not really. I don't think I would take ayahuasca.
Well, don't do it. Because
I'm already
if
not
you're
gonna
on the
do it.
Prozac, don't do it.
I'm not
because
into
it
that.
says it said nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories and MAO inhibitors, and that's one of the ingredients. Serious bleeding, serotonin syndrome.
What's the serious bleeding?
I think it's about the blood thinning stuff.
Oh really?
Manufacturer Prozac recommends that you avoid drinking and alcohol while taking this drug.
Hey, I don't drink.
There you go. Alcohol can worsen. Blah, 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 blah. Hey.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'm good. Just don't take my girlfriend's blood thinners.
Does the Prozac make you kind of speedy at all?
No, I have really bad anxiety. I've had my whole life, and I was on Paxil for like 10 years, and then I tried to get off of it. Like, about
What is Paxil? What is that one?
It's like it's just another
It's an
SSRI.
SSRI?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I got off of it like 5 years ago. Just weaned off of it, and And then like 6 months later, I had the worst panic of my life. I basically was dizzy for like 3 months straight.
Oh boy.
I had a panic attack at every show, just on stage. Every open mic, not open mic or whatever, I'd have a panic attack on stage. It was awful. And I was super dizzy. And it was, my psychiatrist said it wasn't even withdrawal. Just
This is the same one that gave you the Adderall prescription?
No.
No? Different one? Are you one of those guys that shops around for different psychiatrists?
Well, that was in Louisville. This is in New York. And after I went to rehab, I was like, maybe I should get a different shrink. But I had like terrible like dizziness, and I had to get on something else, so I got on Prozac, and it helped a little with that.
Is there anything else that helped other than the Prozac? Is there any activities
I
that
don't
helped?
have to like have my girlfriend, have bore her with having sex for too long. It helped that, because it makes you. What is it? Well, actually, it keeps you from getting it up.
Oh.
But I don't have that problem, so it does okay.
So the Paxil was helping you in a different way than the Prozac is?
I think it was the same thing. I just didn't want to go back on Paxil because Paxil had like a lot of weight gain.
Oh.
So I went on Prozac and then gained the weight anyway. But
and what was the difference in the way you felt on Paxil versus on Prozac?
Both of them honestly made me feel kind of like the same, which is just like a somewhat anxious person. The problem was when I was on Paxil, I thought I didn't need it. But the reason I thought I didn't need it is because I was on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the problem with people who get off antidepressants. They're like, well, I don't need it. No, but that's because it's working.
Right.
So unless there's like a problem, I don't know. When I got off of it, it was like a nightmare, the anxiety I had. It was like truly like, especially having panic attacks on stage.
Jesus.
It's so shitty because we all get anxiety, but usually I'd come to believe that anxiety leaves you once you get on stage. Like it's a comfort zone.
Right.
And I had lost that for a long time. I like had panic like all throughout a set.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was awful.
Was there anything else that you tried that helped that at all?
I try to meditate.
Did that do anything?
It helps a little. Honestly, the thing that helped the most was panic attacks on stage, was just continuing to have them to the point where you notice it doesn't destroy the world. Like,
right?
Because I would actually still do okay on stage. Actually, people wouldn't really notice. Like, I'd go off after, like, that was horrible. They're like, I didn't even notice, which makes you feel more alone, by the way. The fact that you can have this hell in your head and no one notices.
And when you were doing this, were there sometimes you didn't have the hell in your head, or did it happen every time?
I think it happened for those 3 months, like, almost every time. I mean, sometimes maybe not. Or if I was doing a long set, like an hour, maybe it would go away after a while. But I honestly think just having them and then realizing it's not a big deal, that you can still do the show, that made it go away. Because I think the worst thing you can do with anxiety is like run away from it. Like if you're anxious when you go outside, the worst thing you can do is just not go outside because then it like builds. So having, if anyone has panic attacks on stage, just continuing to have them and letting your brain know that it's not a big deal, that it's not going to destroy you, then it starts to go away.
Wow.
So now, I'm back to not really having them on stage. But yeah, it was tough. Like, getting off medication was like a horror show. I mean, I kind of wish I was never on it to begin with,
Do you wish you were on Prozac to begin with? Or do you think that, like, did something about taking the anti-anxiety medication accentuate it when you got off it? Like,
accentuate
yeah, like the anxiety. Did you have the same level of anxiety before you did Paxil that you had when you got off of it?
I think it was more like, I mean, it's all a mystery, I guess, why exactly. But I think it was more like all this anxiety. It was this giant wave of anxiety that I just happened to have in my life. I just come out with a special, and I was feeling this like, I had this urge to just like create more stuff and like just, that feeling you have where you just want to get out as much stuff because you're afraid you're gonna die. I had that urge kind of big. I was like, I gotta do the next thing. And then, actually, the way it started, I was at my brother's place, and I looked in the mirror, and I saw these moles on my back, and I was just convinced they were skin cancer.
Ooh.
That's how it began. And not like, I always had hypochondria, but this was different. This was like, I knew I was going to die. And then I went to the doctor, and they were like, it doesn't look like skin cancer. And then the next day, I stood up and was dizzy for like 3 months straight.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think it was a wave of anxiety just where I was in my life, but for the first time in 10 years, I didn't have something to mask it, which I think made it more intense. You know what I mean? Like,
how long were you off it for?
About like 4 months, and then I slowly got on Prozac. Maybe a little more. 5
So
months.
4 months of hell.
Yeah, it was awful, and it was just like, yeah, it was awful.
So did you have that level of anxiety when you were younger?
When I was really young, I would have these really bad screaming fits. Like when I was like 8 or 9, I would just suddenly have these moments where I was like, I don't know, this moment of just feeling hopeless or something. I just started yelling. And my parents never knew what it was. I actually would cut myself a couple times, like on the leg, just to like distract it.
Oh, wow.
And I had those, and I didn't know what it was. And then in college, I also started doing cocaine, which didn't help. And then I had some like really bad kind of anxiety in college, and that's when I went on Paxil originally. You know. Yeah, but no, I've always had like really bad anxiety.
Damn.
Do you have anxiety? Yeah.
No.
That is so funny after this long thing.
No,
like,
I mean,
do you have
we
anxiety?
all,
You're like,
I
no.
can get it sometimes. I could talk myself into it. I could talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
I get anxiety about existential threats. Like I get anxiety about war sometimes, like late at night. I get anxiety about like the more I read about history.
Yeah.
The more I understand, how many times in history everything was great and everything was fine, and then all of a sudden some terrible event took place, and then we went back to like the Stone Age. Like,
right.
And that this is an imminent threat to life. That we look at the goings on in the world as if it's like some plot in a television show that we're watching. You're watching what's happening in Ukraine, you're watching what's happening in Gaza, and you're watching what's happening in Iran, and you're watching all this crazy shit, and it doesn't seem real because it hasn't affected you. But when late at night when everyone's asleep, that's when it gets me.
Right, all the horrors of
Yeah,
everything.
I start thinking that this ridiculous life that we live, and all the stupid societal conflicts that we have that are mostly meaningless and nonsense, and that they're accentuated constantly in the news, all the while real people are dying.
Right.
And like drone
Right.
suicide bombs. And you can
Right.
watch them on YouTube.
While we're just having like culture war arguments.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many people die on Instagram Reels. So many people get blown up by missiles and blown up by drones and suicide drones slamming into people and detonating them. I watched this guy, some guy, I forget what part of the world it was, but he wore a suicide vest. They tried to stop him, and these guys run and they grab him and they all explode.
Okay.
They're trying to stop him from pulling the vest, and this bomb goes off, and you see just parts of people flying, and you're like, fuck, man, this is all happening in the world right now. It's just not happening right here.
You're watching it, you're like, for some reason, I'm really anxious right now.
Yeah, I get freaked out, and I start thinking about just how fragile our civilization really is.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's completely fragile. I mean,
Yeah, and we're so soft. We're so accustomed to living this way. We're so like when the power went off earlier when we were doing this podcast. What do? We wait for it to come back on.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Well,
gonna fix it.
What if it doesn't come
Yeah,
back on?
I used to have a bit about that. That, like when the dumb people outfuck the smart people, and the power
Yeah.
just goes off, and no one
We're
has
back
any
to
idea
the-
how to turn it back on again. Like, what do you do? Somebody does it. They do it. But
Yeah.
what if that guy's dead? Like, do we know? And when do we know?
Right.
How long afterward do we figure out the power's not coming back?
Right, it is crazy. The world's just functioning off of just this.
Yeah.
No one's really running the ship. It's just a collective thing of functioning. You
And
know
we're
what I mean?
connected by the most fragile thing we have,
Yeah.
which is the power grid and our computer infrastructure.
Yeah.
All of it can be wiped out in one solar flare.
And we take it so much for granted.
Yeah. So it's the only reason why we're alive. It's 100 degrees outside, and I have a hoodie on.
Right.
You know, I'm super comfortable in here. We have air conditioning. We're fine. We're
Right.
not dying of heat exhaustion. We're not out there dehydrating to death.
Yeah,
we
it's
know
like-
where the water
it's like
is.
we've ignored the fact that nature can be a threat.
Yeah,
You know?
and we're just so vulnerable, and we're so reliant to keep this civilization going the way it is. Like, think about what we've been talking about today. Like, if you go back and watch films from like the 1930s and how horrific people treat each other, and over time, because of our access to all these different human beings and how they feel about things and how they discuss things, all that has kind of elevated our discourse and elevated the way we communicate with each other and we interact with each other and we demand more.
Right.
And there's going to be overcompensation, and things are gonna go back and forth, but generally it's moving in the right direction. But that's only because all of our needs are met and because there's electricity.
You can go back at any time.
Yes,
Yeah, for
electricity is the thing that changed everything. When you can stay cool and stay warm, you can live in places you shouldn't be living.
Sure. Yeah,
and then
this would be a hellhole to live in without AC.
Cities would be
unlivable.
all cities would be a hellhole.
Yeah.
There's no food. No one's growing food. How do you eat? Well, as soon as trucks stop coming in, everyone's fucked.
Yeah.
There's no food. You have enough food for like a few hours of everybody eating, and then that's it.
Yeah. The Gaza stuff is awful.
It's horrifying.
It's created such a... You know, I'm Jewish, obviously, if you can't tell.
I think you brought that up.
It's been such a complicated, horrible thing, and it's just horrible all around.
It is complicated and horrible, and it's also complicated when you see so much anti-Semitism online, like open anti-Semitism about all Jews, as if there's like this cabal of evil people that are pulling the strings.
I know. I've posted, you know, I hate Netanyahu. I hate the Israeli government. I think both Gaza and Israel have been taken over by extremists, you know?
Right.
But I've posted concern for anti-Semitism, and I've been like attacked by people. Like, how can you be worried about that when people are dying in Gaza? And I'm like, there's two different things.
Yeah, they're both real.
Yeah, they're both real, and I have a right to be concerned. Jews have a right to be a little nervy.
Yeah, some shit went down. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, we have a right to get cautious, you know?
But it's also, that's one of the things that, I forget who was talking to us about this. It might have been Jordan Peterson, but it was somebody. When they were saying that it's one of the hallmarks of a civilization's decline, they start blaming things on the Jews.
Yeah, it is.
It's really common.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Because Jews stick together, and, you know, it's a very difficult club to get into, you know?
Well, I think what people have done, too, is there is an extremist faction in Israel.
Yes.
Who are, like,
which, by the
awful.
way, was being protested for months on end before October 7th.
And what people aren't doing, they're not giving Israel the benefit of a conflicted soul. And a lot of the anti-Zionist propaganda is making you think all of Israel is like that.
Exactly.
But it's no different than another country like America. It's a conflicted place. There are extremists, and some of them are awful, and Netanyahu has put a lot of them in his government, made a coalition with them. But there's also people who want peace, people who want, you know, Palestinian self-determination.
Like all human beings everywhere in the world, there's good people.
It's like if you hated Trump, but then you assume when he was president, everyone in America supported Trump, right?
Right.
If you thought that. It's like,
right.
It's very dehumanizing to think like all of Israel is like just
in support of the genocide in Gaza.
Right, and
then you see polls. 65% of people say it's okay to rape Palestinian prisoners. Who did you talk to? Who did you talk to? 65% of who? Who the fuck is answering that poll? Yeah. Hey, let me ask you a couple questions about rape. Like, who the fuck is answering that? What are you talking about, raping prisoners? I'm all in. By the way, I'm on my way to work. I gotta go.
Well, yeah, and like there's also like there's obviously a lot of horrible shit Israel has done, but a lot of people go beyond that and make it. It's not just like it's fine to be like they don't put civilians in, like they don't think about civilians. I understand that as a critique, but a lot of people want to make it look like they're like going out of their way to just only kill civilians. They have a goal. It might be bad and reckless.
Yeah, but there's been things like the killing of the aid workers. You know, like the Jose Andres' people.
Yeah,
which is like seems like they were targeted.
I don't know. It's hard to believe the purpose for that. The targeting
to keep people from getting food to to the Gaza refugees.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like.
I don't have a position.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just saying that's the
Some people
accusation is that they knew who those people were.
I think Israel. It's hard for me to believe that that's where they're. I do think they want to get rid of Hamas. I think a lot of people have died. It's awful, and I don't think it's worth it. All this at all. But I don't think they're like...
You don't think that some people have a dehumanization way of looking at Palestinians?
Yeah, for sure.
They do.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you're looking at when you're seeing soldiers rape Palestinian prisoners. You've seen that video?
Yeah, no, that camp is awful.
Yeah,
it's awful. Truly a nightmare.
Look, whenever a human being is capable of doing something like that to another human being that they don't even know, they consider that person the other. You've got a giant problem, and that's the giant problem of being able to just bomb Gaza into oblivion and kill who knows how many thousands of people. It's almost like the United States' reaction after 9/11. 9/11, the whole world was on our side.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted America to prosper. We can't believe America was attacked. America, this shining beacon of democracy and self-government. Like, no, not America. And then what do? We invade Iraq.
Right.
And we kill a million people wind up dying because of our invasion, they think. And then you think about the weapons of mass destruction hoax. It was all bullshit. And it was paraded in the media. So it's like that. It's like our overreaction was so horrific. Then everybody hated America.
I agree with that. I do think what Hamas did was so horrific, and they said they're going to keep doing it. It did plant these seeds of hate in Israelis that...
No doubt.
Even I'm in the position where, like, obviously this war is terrible. I don't think it should have happened. But I also think it's a lot to ask people to have something so horrific happen and not them kind of retaliate. Though I'm against it, if that makes sense.
I know what you're saying, that people would retaliate. It's the way they're retaliating and the scale of
course.
it, which is horrific to people.
But I also, I think there's dehumanization on both sides.
For sure. Well, the only way you can do October 7th is dehumanization.
Of course. And I do think people on both sides have tried to demean the other or trivialize the other person's accountability.
I know, it's crazy and also people pretending as if they know what actually happened and what the stats are.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They didn't do this. Are you on the ground?
That's to me, saying like there's no rape then is like dehumanization. It's
all of it is crazy. Like you don't fucking know what's actually going on. And there's a lot of misinformation that's even printed in mainstream media, like the bombing of the hospital.
There's a lot of shit that happens.
That was front page of the New York Times.
There's a lot of shit that happens in the fog of war that people want to know the answer right away. And I know it's hard, but you have to wait sometimes. Like the fog of war, you're not going to always have the answer right away. I mean, I'm not saying Israel isn't culpable of a lot of things, but you do have to wait. I see people sharing information that's not verified all the time that just came out where you're like, you don't.
Well, that's the hospital bombing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what that is. I mean, that made it all the way into newspapers.
Exactly. I mean, I think like Netanyahu created a coalition with some really awful people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. There are like really Jewish supremacists, real thugs. And I think a lot of anti-Zionists have tried to convince everyone that all of Israel is like that. And I just think, there needs to be less dehumanization and just seeing like, the suffering in Gaza is horrible. It needs to stop. But also like not every Israeli is part of some evil Zionist, whatever, conspiracy. That's its own inverted form of anti-Semitism.
Well, Netanyahu is this super pro-military guy. I mean, he was a special forces guy.
Yeah, and he's corrupt, and he has charges against him that he's trying to, like, weaken the government to prevent from coming through. And he made a coalition with two people who are truly awful, awful people. And that is really almost... these people want a theocracy in Israel. You know, they want, but that's not all of Israel, and people have protested against that.
So that's my fear when I'm up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like, that this kind of shit is going on, that any minute it could pop off and become a nuclear war.
I mean, that's a legitimate fear.
It's a legitimate fear.
I don't even know if that's anxiety.
Whatever it is, that's, if you ask me if I get anxiety, that's my anxiety.
No, I totally see that.
When I get really freaked out, that's what freaks me out. What freaks me out is that it could pop off at any minute, and then all of a sudden it's September 12th, you know?
Yeah.
But way bigger, way crazier, way scarier. And that hasn't happened since 1945, so we assume that it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, we had 20 good years, and now we think everything... We had like some good time in the 80s, and now we're like, it can never go back.
Oh, dude. When the wall fell down, it was amazing. There was like a weight lifted off of America. Like everybody's like, Soviet Union's gone. We don't have to worry about a nuclear war with Russia anymore. And now it's China and Iran and fucking this and that. And oh, my God.
It is like most periods of history, people had kind of a shitty life and a volatile period of history. We really like, up to like, I guess... After Vietnam and maybe to the, now, till everything's kind of falling apart now, like it was kind of smooth sailing, I guess, for a little bit. But like,
as long as you're in America.
Well, yeah, it's not smooth sailing. People are like, the 90s were great. Rwanda, it was not smooth sailing. Yeah.
There was a lot of places where it sucked bad.
Well, that's the other thing. It's been shitty for, it's always shitty for someone.
That's the thing is we're not used to it happening right here.
We're very spoiled.
Oh, we're so spoiled. Like the Russians are so much more used to it than us. They lost so many people during World War II.
Oh, yeah, like 20 million?
Yeah, well, I was reading this thing about France. This is so crazy that during World War I, France lost 25% of its fighting age men, and then during World War II, they lost another 25%.
It's insane. Like, life...
What the fuck, man?
Well, that's the thing. Life was so cheap, and now we feel like life is kind of expensive. We're like, life has value, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still so cheap for so many people. you
Well,
know?
it is in other parts of the world. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like we're so used to not being attacked that when something like
Right.
9/11 does happen, like Pearl Harbor happened, it was 5 hours over the ocean.
I
It's the
know.
only other time we were attacked.
Yeah.
You know, we're so soft.
We are soft.
We're soft as baby poo.
But we're seeing a lot of violence. I mean, we see you see the guy who shot Trump, you see his head exploded on the roof. You see
What do
everything.
you think that was all about?
A guy trying to shoot Trump.
I think it was just a guy trying to. You don't think he had some help?
No.
No?
I
Do you
don't
think
think so.
Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone?
Yeah. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist.
So the Bill Hicks joke, you don't buy into it?
I love the joke,
You love the joke.
but I'm not a big
Have you ever read
conspiracy
into
theory
that one?
guy. I read a little, yeah.
You need to read more. That's one you really shouldn't be flipping about. They killed that fucking guy.
But here's the thing with Trump though, like why would he need so you thought like Biden's trying to take him out?
I don't think it was Biden. I think it could be a number of people that were involved. But it seems at the very least like they were so lax in security that they were inviting something to happen. At the very least. And knowing that that guy was walking around more than 30 minutes before with a rangefinder.
Right.
Seeing that guy, he'd come back and forth. He observed him multiple times. People were talking about him. They were keeping an eye on him. And this guy gets on the roof with a rifle and gets off 3 shots.
Well, my thing with a lot of conspiracy theories is it just kind of ignores incompetence. I feel like incompetence
Sure.
is a real thing. Like,
Incompetence is a real theory. You know what's a real thing? Conspiracies. Those are
Yeah,
real too.
some of them are
The
real.
problem with dismissing conspiracies as being just a silly conspiracy theories, that was the whole goal of the Warren Commission report. And that was when
Right.
the term conspiracy theory got into the zeitgeist.
Well, I don't
as
dismiss
a pejorative.
I don't dismiss, and I didn't mean to offend.
No, you didn't offend.
The
No.
conspiracy theory. I don't dismiss. There's a huge amount of corruption and horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
I just think a lot of times incompetence does play a big part, and I do think like there is incompetence and there's like randomness a lot. And
Some dude had a really good joke about it that he put
Yeah.
up on Instagram. It was very funny. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe you can find it, Jamie. He said that it was basically like, if I thought they were going to try to an assassination attempt, that seems exactly like how the government would do it. Like really inefficient. Really, it was like he said it was like the DMV of assassination attempts. Oh, find this dude. Who sent that to me? God damn it.
but it's also. I mean, I guess for me, it's like you also have to like.
You find it?
I know. I saw it recently too. I know what you're talking about.
Fuck, somebody sent it to me. I get too many texts.
Anything can be real, but I also think the idea that he was a lone shooter is not that world is not a crazy world. The idea that we're in a violent place.
No, I'm not
everyone
saying
has guns.
No, not saying that he wasn't a lone shooter. I think he was a lone shooter. Maybe there was other people shooting at him. I think he was trained. And I think somebody got him detonators. He had sophisticated detonators and explosive devices.
That's why you're like lone shooter, but trained by the military.
I think someone talked that guy into doing that. I don't think someone talked that guy into doing it. I think it's possible that someone talked that guy into doing that.
Yeah, I mean anything's possible. I'm not like dismissing that. I just think like he's like a school shooter who got political. You know,
They
what
took
I mean?
his body away and cremated it 10 days after the assassination. No toxicology report. No public. There's been no press conference about it. No telling all the details. Here's what we know. They went to the kid's house. It was professionally scrubbed. Didn't have silverware in it.
Right.
There's
I
a
don't know.
phone that was going back and forth because, they have ad data. They can track cell phone when they ping. There's a phone going back and forth between the offices of the FBI in Washington, D.C. and this kid's house on multiple occasions.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but I don't know.
That's where things get weird, right?
You'd hate me with my views. I don't.
No. I wouldn't hate.
I don't even think Epstein.
I would not hate you with your views.
I'm like the opposite of a conspiracy theorist.
That's interesting. So you think Epstein killed himself?
I'm not saying he definitely killed himself, but I also think it is believable that he is a little depressed at that point.
Certainly.
You know what I mean? That's what I
Certainly.
think. I think like the possibility of it not being a conspiracy is sometimes very like plausible.
Sure.
To the point where I don't need if you need to go to a conspiracy. Like
Sometimes.
maybe he got killed, but Epstein was also not in a great place at that point.
True.
You know what I mean? So I could see that both ways.
But then you have to look at the autopsy.
Yeah.
And you have to look at the ligature marks around the base of his neck, which is not really what happens when you hang yourself. When you hang yourself, your weight of your body is what kills you.
Yeah.
And so the ligature marks, the strangulation marks are underneath the chin. His was down by his neck, and his neck was actually fractured which is also indicative of someone getting strangled to death. Dr. Michael Baden, who's that forensic scientist that did that show Autopsy. Remember that show on HBO? He examined the autopsy, examined what the results were, and he found that the fractures in the neck were indicative of someone being strangled to death.
But wasn't there another coroner who said it was like suicide?
Sure.
It's just
First
like
coroner.
Yeah.
Yeah. First guy said
Well,
suicide.
why can't we believe that guy?
Well, it seems very convenient that the cameras went out.
Yeah.
It seems very convenient that the people that were on security were asleep. Seems very convenient. All of it seems convenient.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he didn't get killed.
Seems convenient. The most high-profile defense witness in a very important case that might have been about elites and child pedophilia would probably want to take that guy out.
But also a narcissist who's going to be about to be who's the most hated person in the world I could see him killing himself.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Could.
I'm not saying he didn't kill. He could have killed himself. I mean, he could have been killed.
So how long have you been working for the government?
I hate me now.
I don't hate you.
I'm not a big I think Oswald acted alone. I don't know. I'm a believer in incompetence and that everyone most people are bad at their job.
Did you ever watch the Zapruder film? The film of Kennedy's head going back into the left?
Of course.
How do you think that happens when you get shot from behind?
What do you mean?
His head goes back into the left like he got shot from the front.
I don't know. I don't.
You never see that was a Hicks bit.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Back into the left.
But I also think they've tried so long to find the conspiracy for that, and it always kind of comes to a dead end. I don't know. I think what Oswald did was.
I like the way you think. You know, you don't want to think about it this way. I like it. I like what you're saying.
Well, to me, I think a lot of conspiracy theorists think like the other person, like I'm naive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the opposite. I think like it sometimes can be naive to think there's someone masterminding everything. You know what I mean? Like to me, I think like, and I don't know all the evidence. I'm sure there's all these reports and stuff, but like to me, I think like sometimes crazy shit happens, and when you look at it backwards, it doesn't. Yeah, it's crazy that he shot someone from that far and it worked. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But it's also crazy shit happens, and we also have never seen. A lot of times stuff happens where we've never seen that, like 9/11. Mm-hmm. We never had two planes hit a building, but you immediately had people being like, buildings don't fall like that. It's like, this is the first time it's happened.
That's true.
So it's like, we don't always know, like, it's a lot of times something happening that's crazy, but also, like, never happened before that people are like, that's not how it happens. But it's like, how do you know?
That's true. Like planes flying into the buildings, especially buildings that are that tall. That's all true.
And I do think, I've read, it was 9/11. There was so much incompetence as a government, a lack of communication between the FBI and the CIA, you know? And I'm a firm, I'm not saying some conspiracies aren't true. Definitely. And there's a lot of corruption. But I'm just a firm believer in incompetence.
Incompetence is real, but conspiracies are too.
Some conspiracies are real, yeah.
The Lee Harvey Oswald one, when you look into it, it's pretty nutty.
Yeah.
It's pretty nutty. You know? A lot of people heard shots from the grassy knoll. The amount of people that were eyewitnesses that died in mysterious ways is extraordinary. Like off the charts odds, like that don't make any sense.
But I also do think sometimes the brain like finds patterns that aren't always
and also people kill people. That happens too.
Both.
The thing about the Oswald thing is there's also a lot of evidence that points to the fact that they were trying to come to the conclusion that there was a lone gunman despite the evidence. And one of those is the magic bullet theory. The magic bullet theory is fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That shit would never fly today.
What is it? The bullet went through and then
it went through Kennedy and then into Connolly, and then they found it in pristine condition on the gurney, and then they attributed that bullet to all these wounds because they had to, because there was only 3 shots supposedly, and in those 3 shots that Oswald was able to get off, they knew one of them hit the back. And they knew one of them was hit Connolly, and one of them blew up his head. Well, they had all different bullets for these things, for these different injuries. But then a guy got hit with a ricochet in the underpass, so they had to account for one of those bullets missing the target and hitting the whatever it is, granite curbstone, and banging into this guy's face. And the guy had to go to the hospital. They found the curbstone that had been hit with a bullet, and so they knew that a ricochet had hit there. So now they had 2 bullets that had to have all these wounds. And so instead of saying, hey, maybe there's more than one person shooting, maybe there's more than this one guy that was in the book depository, all these people said there was shots coming from the grassy knoll, maybe they were telling the truth. Instead of that, they said, no. One bullet went crazy and went, oh, and look, we found it. Here's the bullet. All good. And look at the bullet.
All right, I'll give you Oswald
that bullet,
if you give
look
me
at that
the
bullet. That
Trump
bullet,
shooter.
That bullet supposedly went through 2 people, and they found it in that condition on a gurney. If you've ever shot anything with a bullet, you know that's straight horse shit. That's not deformed at all. That's shattered bones. That's nonsense.
But what is the answer? I feel like there's so many answers about what happened, right? There's not.
Well, if you read the Warren Commission report, and fucking nobody has, that's also there's different. Like, see the hole in his neck? It's supposed to have gone through his back, through his neck. But in the first autopsy report, that hole in the neck was thought of as an entrance wound. And then when it got to Bethesda, Maryland, then they said it was a tracheotomy hole. There's like a lot of inconsistencies in the Warren Commission report, and if you want to go crazy, read a book called Best Evidence by David Lifton, who was an accountant who read the entire Warren Commission, went over it, and found all these inconsistencies and said they were just trying to come to this one conclusion, and he didn't buy it.
But I'll check it out. But also, like, there can be inconsistencies are also part of incompetence or not communicating as well, can't it?
Inconsistencies, yeah, but
I mean,
these
like people
seem
having different reports that don't, or even him trying to force something. Like, I mean, like, I just think sometimes, like, the thing has to be, like, nothing's perfect, and there is, like, a lot of, like,
I also don't think Lee Harvey Oswald acted. I think Lee Harvey Oswald was a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think he acted. I don't think he acted alone.
You think
though.
it was like the CIA?
I think he was the guy that they were pinning it on. Well, he was definitely active with the CIA. He'd gone over to Russia. He'd married a Russian woman, came back to America. Was doing a lot of weird communist shit. He was involved in a lot of weird stuff that seemed to indicate that he was some sort of intelligence agent.
Yeah,
or at least a patsy. A guy they could pin this on, which is probably what they want to do.
I'm not denying it that it could happen. I guess that it's a possibility. I guess for me, it's just like usually when there is something a conspiracy, it does get found out.
Yeah, but
there's
this
concrete evidence.
There was no internet back then, and they didn't even see the Zapruder film until 12 years later. The Zapruder film, nobody even saw it until it was on the Geraldo Rivera show in 1975 when Dick Gregory brought it on.
So you know what I read in the Seymour, what's his name? He did a book about Camelot. That apparently Kennedy was fucking someone at the pool and pulled his groin. Have you read this 2 days beforehand? And he had like a back brace on. And when he got shot, because he got shot twice, right?
He got shot, well, yeah, at least twice. It was, they think 3 times. They think that's one through the back, one through the neck, and one in the head.
But I heard they said, like, because of the back brace, when he got shot the first time, it didn't push him over. So it's kind of like a sitting duck. Have you heard that?
No,
I read
but
that
kind of makes sense.
So, like, the back brace almost kept him up with the shot.
Well, he was all fucked up. He had a lot of, like, real physical problems. He was in constant pain. And he was also a guy that was getting treatment from Dr. Feelgood. That's where Dr. Feelgood came from.
My psychiatrist?
Yeah, real similar. Like this one doctor, and I think a lot of that was meth as well. It was a habit of wearing a tightly laced back brace that may have kept him from recoiling to the floor of his car after the assassin's first bullet to the neck, setting him up for the kill shot. The brace was firm. So this is this is not the back shot either. There was a shot in the neck that, again, the initial autopsy said was an entrance wound. Yeah, that makes sense.
Could
Tightly laced.
Yeah.
Makes sense that it kept him stiff. He was all fucked up, though. He had Portrait of Pain. See, he had, like, some real serious problems. Numerous back surgeries. It's hard to hide news photos of him walking on crutches before and after one of his numerous back surgeries. It wasn't until 2002 when historian Robert Dallek was allowed access to a collection of documents spanning 1955 to 1963. And 1963, the specifics began to emerge. Pate and his co-author, neurosurgeon Dr. Justin Dowdy, pored over Dallek's subsequent book, numerous other biographies, and scores of documents and x-rays at the JFK Library in Boston to prepare their paper. So I was taken aback by the depths of Kennedy's pain. He said how long he dealt with the pain despite his short life, how it affected his life. I was able to conceal most of that from the public and certainly from his political adversaries. So I wonder what back surgeries were they doing in 1963? Good Lord.
It's got to be brutal.
Oh, he had scarlet fever at age 2, spent his teenage years in and out of hospitals with abdominal and joint pain, flu-like symptoms, and extreme weight loss. Age 15, he weighed a mere 117 pounds. By the next year, worried he might have leukemia, doctors began regularly checking his blood. So he was all fucked up, man. So he was a sick dude.
But so, like, sometimes I think there's, like,
colitis,
different explanations that, like, aren't that sexy. Like
Here's not sexy. Look at this. Yesterday, I went through the most harassing experience of my life. An iron tube, 12 inches long and 1 inch diameter up my ass. My poor bedraggled rectum, oh my God, is looking at me very reproachfully these days. Oh my God.
He was great with words.
Bro, he was fucked
could have been a
up.
comic.
Jesus Christ. So he got a football game, and it got tackled from the side, possibly damaging a spinal disc. Began regularly using a corset brace to stabilize his spine and control his discomfort. So yeah, he was all fucked up.
But it's like there's things like when things don't make sense. There are sometimes an explanation that's like kind of like almost boring or random. It's like the thing with Zapruder. I think it's a Zapruder. The person puts the umbrella up. Mm-hmm. Is that in Zapruder? There's a guy who has an umbrella up and it's not raining. And for years, they thought he might have been involved, like signaling. Mm-hmm. And they finally find the guy. They bring him in front of everyone, and he's like, "I'm British." And in England, it's a real fuck you when you like raise your umbrella when a car's driving by. And he hated Kennedy, so he was just doing a fuck you. But then for years, people were like, "Oh, that was part of the signal." I just think, I mean, I'm not saying some conspiracies aren't true. I just think there's sometimes other reasons that get lost.
Yeah,
like
for
that,
sure.
You know,
certainly people look for things that aren't there.
Right.
You know, I've read conspiracies about me, and I'm like, this is hilarious.
Well,
it's
you know
weird
they're
when you
not
read
true.
them, but it's weird when you read them about you, and you're like, oh, this is how this works. People just make shit up and they just run with it.
What's the one about you?
Oh, just nonsense. Being handled by the CIA, being a part of the Illuminati, all kinds of stupid shit.
Throwing people off your trail by being into conspiracy theories, so people don't realize you're part of the CIA.
Well, they just want to think you're controlled. They,
Yeah.
they want us to think that at a certain point someone comes to you and you get controlled, but that's not real.
No.
The reality is no one's in control.
That's the
Right.
To me, that's
also
the
reality
darkest
is
reality.
MK Ultra was real, and they really were trying to teach people how to kill people, and they did it with Charlie Manson.
No, yeah. I mean, there's definitely real horrible, fucked up shit. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. I'm not saying there's not fucked up, horrible shit, but I do think no one's really steering the ship, and that's like the really scary thing.
Right.
You
I
know?
think our idea is that there's this one group of people that all agree with each other. I don't think that's
Yes,
real.
exactly.
I think
The
there's
collectivism.
competing factions even at the top levels. I think they're always battling with each other.
Yes.
You look, the people in the Navy sometimes don't like the people in the Army. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like this is the CIA
The
and
CIA
the FBI.
not communicating with the FBI
Yeah,
in 9/11.
that's 100% real.
And that's why when people look at all of Israelis, not to bring it back to that,
Right,
like a Jew,
right.
as like a Zionist conspiracy, you're now doing that. You're believing in this collective thing when really there's so many different types of Israelis. There's extremists, there's racists, and there's peaceniks. There's people who believe in peace. And it's like
Exactly.
I think you always have to be wary of like thinking everything's monolithic. You know?
Absolutely. And I feel like that about the intelligence agencies as well. I feel like, yeah, you want the CIA. You want someone who's paying attention to terrorist plots.
Of course. Yeah.
You want them. You want the FBI to be able to investigate when someone's done something horrible.
Yeah,
you
of
want
course.
you want those things. You just don't want them out of control. And the problem is absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when some people get into certain positions of power, they use whatever means necessary to maintain it.
I mean, the Nazis had the ultimate conspiracy when they invaded Poland. They like killed a bunch of their own like prisoner of wars and had them dressed as Polish like soldiers and like concocted a whole fake attack by Poland.
Of course.
I mean,
Well,
it's the ultimate conspiracy.
Hitler burned the Reichstag.
We
You
actually
know?
never know who did it.
No?
Well, some people actually do think it was the Marxists, but we don't
Really?
actually know for sure. Yeah.
I thought it was just generally assumed that it was Hitler.
I think there's still some mystery. I think some people, there was one guy who they say might have lit the fire. I forget what his name. I read this in a book, but like Hitler definitely jumped on it
Right.
immediately.
Well, it was a time-old tactic. I mean,
Yeah.
Nero burned Rome.
I don't. He might have, but I think there's still some mystery about what, because some people think it might have been someone else, but then he just kind of jumped.
You mean
on
Hitler
it.
or Nero?
Hitler.
Nero. You know what else Nero did? When his wife died, he found some slave boy that looked like his wife and had her castrated, and paraded her around as his wife.
Did he fuck the kid?
I don't know what he did. Probably did. I mean, imagine he decided you're going to be my wife now. I'm going to chop your dick off and bring you out in public.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Back then,
It's a
probably,
and then
he's
the
probably
kid.
excited.
I
for
believe the kid
opportunity.
killed himself.
Oh, really?
A couple of years later. Yeah. See if you can find that story. It is a crazy story.
insane.
He found some slave boy that looked like his wife. And so, you know, back then, you're looking at him at the fucking on the balcony. You're one of the peasants in the street. Nobody knew.
Yeah, he's just like
Wasn't his wife anymore. Like, he didn't want anybody to know his wife died, so he decided to make this fucking this slave boy looked like his
find
wife.
a woman who looked like his wife?
I don't know. He was
Did he
out
ask
of his
that
fucking
kid if he had a sister?
Look, this is Nero, dude. It's Caligula. This dude was out of his fucking mind.
I actually don't know much about Nero.
Sporus was a young slave boy whom the Roman Emperor Nero had castrated and married as his empress under his tour of Greece in 66 to 67 CE, allegedly in order for him to play the role of his wife, Poppaea Sabina, who had died the previous year. Ancient historians generally portray this relationship between Nero and Sporus as an abomination. How do you say that name? Suetonius? Suetonius places his account in the Nero-Sporus relationship in his scandalous accounts of Nero's sexual aberrations, between his raping a Vestal virgin and committing incest with his mother. Some think Nero used his marriage to Sporus to assuage the guilt he felt for allegedly kicking his pregnant wife Pompeia to death.
At least, hopefully, he was really, really
Jesus Christ. Dio Cassius, in a more detailed account, writes that Sporus bore an uncanny resemblance to Poppaea and that Nero called Sporus by her name. Oh, my God.
That's insane.
Oh, my God. Wow.
I should make a movie about that kid.
Oh, look at this. Scholars have deduced that Sporus was likely an epithet given to him when his abuse started, considering it to be derived from the Greek word sporus, meaning seed or semen, which may refer to his inability to have children following his castration. What the fuck, dude? Oh, my God. How crazy was that guy?
They should make a movie about that kid. That'd be a good movie. From the kid's perspective. First
you do like dark things.
That'd be a good movie.
That's the darkest.
First, he has to accept that he may have some girly features. And then he has to...
Bro.
To make it a rom-com.
But it's just like, what was society like back then? Because they all had sex with kids.
They fucked a lot of kids.
It was normal for like an intellectual to have a young boy that he would fuck.
I think it was gay to fuck your wife. I think people would be like, I'm going home to my wife. You're like, what are you, gay? Go fuck a little boy like us. It was like a gay thing to fuck your wife. Yeah. It was in. Fucking kids was like the fashion.
Well, and also, how about the Spartans? The greatest warriors ever. They all fucked each other.
Yeah. Greeks were like very tough and very not homophobic.
they didn't care who they fucked. They were just fucking anybody.
But that was a part of masculinity. Like fucking a guy was masculine. Like you were like, I'm tough. I
How
fight.
did that
I
flip?
fuck guy. I know.
Imagine if that kept going and guys were just fucking guys today. Like,
well, in the Nazis, what was the guy who was gay? What was his name? General Rommel or whatever his name was. The one part of the original essay that they killed in the Night of the Long Knives.
Oh, really?
He was gay, and he was the toughest as they came. And there was a bunch of gay people in his division, yeah.
Well, that's the ideal of the Spartans was that you would fight for your lover much harder than you would fight for a friend. So like this man,
really?
this man beside you, not only is he he's with you in this war. He's a fellow soldier, but he's also your lover.
So are you saying, I was thinking they wanted to fuck each other. Is it more like the general was like, I need you all to fuck each other?
I think they wanted to fuck each other too.
They wanted to fuck each other
I think
too.
they just got used to fucking guys. I think it's probably one of those, like, guys are so gross. That's the thing about prison, right? There's no women around. We just fuck each other.
I'm reading further into the Sporus thing. It gets a little weirder,
Yeah?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, he was already married to someone else after his wife died.
Oh.
Satalina Messalina. And then later married Sporus that year.
Who said to bear remarkable resemblance to Pompeia.
But then
he took Sporus to Greece and then back to Rome, making Calvia Caspinilia serve as his mistress of wardrobe to Sporus. Nero had earlier married another freedman, Pythagoras, who had played the role of Nero's husband. Now Sporus played the role of Nero's wife. What?
Yeah, I mean,
he was just wild.
Nero died before Sporus died too.
Oh my God, he was just wild.
And then Sporus went to somebody else
as the wife
because
still?
it was, and Poppaea was married to this person before Nero got her, and Nero made them get divorced, took Poppaea, apparently killed her, and then Sporus went back to this guy.
Whoa.
Nymphidius Sabinus.
Oh my God, Nympho, who had persuaded the Praetorian Guard to desert Nero. Nymphidius treated Sporus as a wife and called him Pompeia. So called him Nero's ex-wife, who Nero kicked to death, who he used to be married to. What the fuck? Imagine that poor kid. He just blessed with good genetics. Got a pretty face. Got a pretty face.
Fucked by this king.
Cut your dick off and just fuck you, and they pass you around.
Talk like my wife.
I'm gonna change your name again, kid.
This is why he killed himself, is because someone else who beat that guy was going to use Sporus as a victim in public entertainment as a
They're going to reenact it after all that shit?
of a rape of someone in the underworld is what that is.
The rape of Proserpina. The rape of Proserpina at a gladiator show.
So
oh my God. So he avoided this public humiliation by committing suicide. So they were going to violently rape him and kill him in a gladiator show.
So he finally gets free of this shit, and then they're like, we want you to reenact it now.
we're gonna make you die in a gladiator show.
I'd guess that's not the first time they did that. He probably knew what was coming, so he's probably like, fuck that. I'm not going through
He
that.
probably saw so many people get fucked up in gladiator shows.
Why did they feel the need to publicly humiliate him? Hasn't he been through that? Why
kick a man while he's down?
It's just like he's getting a little cocky. Let's.
Oh, life back then. I mean, this is the thing. It's like they thought they were pretty progressive when they were just spanking women.
Yeah.
In those stupid movies.
Well, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know it's.
Give me a little hammer to spank her in the ass. Oh, here you go. It was normal.
Yeah.
At least he didn't cut her dick off.
Well, you know, we do move at our own pace, and it's like. People act like people suck now, like we're awful, but like we are getting better.
We are way better than those days.
We're
way better than the Nero. If you just read that account, and imagine if Biden did that. Imagine if Biden's wife died, so he found some fucking page that looked like his wife, and had him cut his dick off, and brought him to Greece as his wife. We'd be like, this guy's a maniac. Right? This guy's out of his fucking mind.
We're freaked out when he sniffs hair.
Yeah.
We're like, he's getting too close to that hair.
Look how he's smelling those kids.
He fucking shit. Yeah.
Imagine.
No. Oh, that was insane. It was. I mean, it was good to be a king back then. You know, you really could do whatever you wanted.
It didn't last long. Eventually, it came for you.
What happened to him? He got executed, or
what happened to Nero? How did he die?
I'm looking into this a little more. It says this like because of how crazy it's sounding. I'm starting to go like. Maybe whoever killed him was just like, we're gonna smear him and we're gonna make up all this shit about him. It's not maybe accurate, but who's gonna fucking defend
right? But the Nero store, that's like an historical record. The store I took Sporus and
I found
did that to him.
a New Yorker article from 2021 that says like, how nasty was he really? Isn't that notorious?
How nasty was Nero really?
Yeah. It says
oh my God, Nero apologist. They're gonna be writing out about Hitler someday.
Might have been a smear campaign.
It was just the oxycodone. It wasn't Hitler.
Yeah, sorry, he was on really good pot, really potent pot. It made him fuck his wife.
He got some 29% THC.
The weed was strong, and he only had taken weed a couple times.
Yeah, you can't fault him for killing all the Jews. He really did think they were evil while he was tripping balls.
Sorry, that's a crazy thing to be like. Kill 6 million Jews. Well, I was on painkillers.
I was on oxys, guys.
I was on a lot of painkillers.
I had a bad doctor. What, Jamie, were you saying?
After he had sex with his mom, he killed her too. They didn't mention that. In the first
whoops.
thing we read.
Yeah, bad guy. I'd say bad guy.
Yeah.
I say pretty safe to say. That's not a conspiracy.
I'm not into that.
I'm not going to try to. You can't
Here you go
say
with your
incompetence for that
theories.
one. I think that guy was probably a really bad guy.
No, that was a bad guy. Yeah. No, he was.
I think when you were the king back then, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's the other
so much
thing.
Power over people.
I think anyone put in that position would just do whatever the fuck they wanted.
You know the Elizabeth Bathory story?
No.
Elizabeth. This is a very controversial
I just know about
story
Hitler.
too.
I don't know about it.
This lady, apparently, so this is the folklore. There's two different versions of this. So the story that gets handed down was this woman was so evil that she was a serial killer, and she was beautiful when she was young, and as she got older, she would slaughter young maids and put them in a bathtub and bathe in their blood to try to rejuvenate.
Oh, I remember this, yes.
Yeah.
I've been reading this.
But then the revisionist approach to it was that they accused her of all these things so that they could take her land. And they imprisoned her because she was a royal, so they imprisoned her under house arrest. They locked her up in a castle. They locked her up in a room in the castle for the rest of her life until she died. And they think that this possibly could be false accusations against her that were so horrific that no one would question them so that they could take her land.
Oh, so she didn't do it, or
I don't
we
know.
Don't know.
We don't know. I mean, the stories. I mean, if they did smear her with this fake thing, it's a crazy accusation too.
You want it to be true, though, don't you?
Of course. You want to think there's some lady that is so vain and evil that she slaughters all the beautiful young ladies.
Yeah.
And that these women started going missing, and they said, "See if you can find that story." It's kind of crazy.
I used to be super into serial killers, like
Ooh.
before it was cool.
Oh, back in the day. When did you start? Who got you first?
Well, first of all, I was really into Kemper, the guy in the Mindhunter series.
Oh.
I was into him before. Now he's like, everyone knows him. I'm a little disappointed. I was into him.
He's mainstream now. He's sold out.
Back when I was into it, I was creeping people out.
It was cool. It was old school days.
My favorite story is Ed Gein. There's a story that someone came to his house once to borrow sugar or some shit, and he came inside and there was a skull that Ed Gein of someone who had killed on a shelf, and the guy's like, "What the fuck is that?" And Ed Gein, it's like 50s, right? Ed Gein just kind of freaks out and just lies. He just goes, "Oh, that's a Japanese guy I killed in the war, brought him back." And the other guy's like, "Oh, thank God." For a second, I thought it was something creepy.
Jesus
Isn't that
Christ.
crazy?
That is crazy. Imagine you could take a Japanese guy's head home with you.
And everyone's just
And they'd be like, yeah, it's fine. As long as it's a Japanese guy. Case of Elizabeth Bathory inspired numerous stories during the 18th and 19th centuries. The most common motif of these works is that the countless bathing in her virgin victims' blood to retain beauty or youth. The legend appeared in print for the first time in 1729 in the Jesuit scholar Laszlo Turokzy, maybe? Tragica Historia was written, the first account of the Bathory case. The story came into question in 1817 when the witness accounts, which had surfaced in 1765, were published for the first time. They included no references to bloodbaths in his book Hungary and Transylvania, published in 1850. John Paget describes the supposed origins of Bathory's blood bathing, although his tale seems to be fictionalized recitation of oral history from the area. It's difficult to know how accurate his account of events is. Sadistic pleasures is considered a far more plausible motive for Bathory's crimes. Oh, so they're saying that she did do it. Bathory's been labeled by Guinness Book of World Records the most prolific female murderer, although the number of her victims is debated. So this is Wikipedia, though? Yeah, I think there was another article that Elizabeth Bathory was Google Elizabeth Bathory was innocent.
I found this, but this didn't have a link. It's just someone talking about it on Reddit, which says
was never a serial killer. The myth and stories about her were made up by the Hungarian nobleman who first falsely accused her, then prosecuted her based on false evidence that was mostly hearsay. Later, they got her servants to make proof against her by forcing them to say they saw the killings of young girls while they tortured them. This was because the wild dislike she got in those circles because of how well she treated her, what is that, Jobagi? I don't know how to translate. Basically, farmers who worked for her on the land, for house, and a portion of what they made. Making a bad example, and she was simply kind to commoners, something noblemen just loathe. It's also helped them.
So it's actually just
after she got locked up, they seized her estate.
So she was actually just a nice person.
Yeah, that seems a little fishy too.
It's disappointing though,
Who fucking knows? It's too many years ago for really. We don't even know what happened in 1963 with the Kennedy assassination.
Right. I take a bath every day. Not a blood bath, but I love baths.
Baths are nice.
I love them. Yeah, it's like my place away from my phone and stuff.
If you could live 100 years ago, a fucking hot shower is a miracle.
Oh yeah.
A hot shower is a wonderful pleasure that we just completely take for granted. To sit in that shower soap and lather up, and wash your feet and wash your face and your underarms. Bathe in this preheated warm water. It's wonderful.
We do cold plunges for fun. That's all people had back then.
That's
that
it.
was the cold plunge.
Yeah, if you wanted to wash your dirty ass, you had to get in that fucking lake. But hey, dude, it's been really fun talking to you, man. It was a really good time. Thanks for doing this.
Blast.
I really enjoyed it.
Can I plug a couple things?
Yeah, plug away. Plug away. What do you got?
But this was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I hope you had fun.
I did. I had a great time. I enjoyed it very much.
Well, definitely check out my special Brave. Came out not too long ago on YouTube called Brave. Also, I just made a movie. There it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
Filmed
at
the Comedy Cellar.
Nice. Good
Jason
place to film a
Katz and
special.
James Webb filled it. Great directors.
Beautiful.
And I also just made a movie. We just kind of made the trailer. It's about a serial killer called Memory Room.
You do like it dark, huh?
I like it dark. And
Memory Room.
Yeah, it's a movie I made with my brilliant co-director Dan McCabe.
Is it a comedy?
No, it's about a caretaker. It's like a 25-minute thriller about a caretaker who's taking care of a guy with dementia. And one day they're listening to like music, and he seems to really like the song. And she's like, "Oh, do you remember that song?" And he's like, "That song was playing the night I strangled Rosie." He kind of just says it out of nowhere.
Oh, geez.
And she starts like investigating whether he actually killed someone or not. And yeah, we just filmed it.
Are you the serial killer?
No, we got a great actor, Hal Robinson. And
did you think about playing it? You did.
Well,
that's why you're laughing.
I tell you, at one point he was talking about killing someone in it, and he was like, he looked a little too upset, and I was like, you got to look like it's like not a big deal. Like I was giving him my serial killer wisdom, like you should be talking about this like it's nothing, you know?
Right.
But he was great, and you can learn about it or.
Where can someone watch it?
You can watch a trailer now at memoryroommmovie.com. We just kind of put it together, and there's also like if we went 13,000 over budget. So if anyone wants to be an investor, go to memoryroommmovie.com.
And when will it be available for people to watch?
Well, we're finish editing and then send it to all these film festivals and try to get in. Yeah, I made a movie with Joe List earlier this year, and I'm trying to start making more movies. I've loved movies my whole life, and I've written screenplays with my partner Dan McCabe, who's great writer, and we just finally started like making this and like, raising money and making it. It's awesome.
Cool. All right, man. Beautiful.
But it was so nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too, man. It was a lot of fun.
Easy. Yeah.
It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.